Picture a map so unimaginably large that our entire Milky Way galaxy is reduced to a single, insignificant grain of glowing sand. We are about to embark on a hypnotic journey across the absolute grandest scales of reality, leaving the familiar, comforting shores of our local stars far behind. This cosmic structure we call our ultimate home is not just a chaotic scattering of light, but a deeply connected, breathing architecture of staggering and beautiful proportions. Imagine an invisible, incredibly heavy skeleton holding up the towering cathedrals of the night sky, a ghost-like foundation that meticulously dictates the sweeping flow of every shining sun. Beneath the brilliant, captivating fires of the galaxies we can actually see, a profoundly dark and perfectly quiet ocean of matter permanently steers the ultimate fate of the heavens. Surprisingly, the universe hides its greatest, most enduring strength in this absolute, transparent silence, safely binding trillions of alien worlds together across the freezing void. Deep within this majestic, sprawling web, the simple, terrestrial concepts of human distance and everyday size completely and utterly lose their meaning. To truly grasp the magnificent shape of ancient creation, we are forced to entirely abandon our everyday understanding of miles and hours, surrendering instead to the glacial, deeply hypnotic rhythms of deep cosmic time. If we were to look closer at the sheer magnitude of these towering walls of light, we would find a beautiful, underlying paradox that intimately connects the microscopic atoms in our own resting bodies to the infinite dark. Let your breathing effortlessly slow to match the ancient, incredibly unhurried pulse of the constantly expanding cosmos. The grandest, most profoundly beautiful secrets of the luminous web are finally ready to reveal themselves to your quiet, peacefully resting mind. Prepare to leave the boundaries of this small world entirely behind, casting our gaze into the deepest oceans of the night. For far beyond the familiar constellations of our night sky lies a structure so vast it humbles the human mind. Far beyond the familiar constellations of our night sky lies a structure so vast it humbles the human mind. Astronomers call this sprawling cosmic neighborhood Laniakea, a name carefully drawn from the Hawaiian language that translates beautifully to immense heaven. This poetic title perfectly captures the staggering scale, quiet majesty, and ethereal grace of our local supercluster. Deep within this boundless territory, countless galaxies are bound together by a slow, invisible gravitational embrace. It is a breathtaking realm where entire island universes drift like glowing dust motes, caught in a fragile shaft of morning light. Laniakea is not merely a place on a star map, but a colossal, breathing architecture that defines our ultimate, truest address in the dark cosmos. Looking out from our tiny vantage point on Earth, we are constantly peering into the grandest of physical scales imaginable. The sheer, overwhelming magnitude of this immense heaven reminds us that our solitary sun is just one silent spark in a blazing, interconnected web. Here, in the incredibly quiet depths of the universe, the true boundaries of our grandest celestial home finally begin to reveal themselves. To comprehend the size of our cosmic home, we must completely abandon our everyday understanding of distance. This structure stretches across roughly 520 million light-years of vast, freezing cosmic space. A beam of light, the fastest messenger in the universe, would take over 500 million years just to cross from one edge to the other. Such immense proportions reduce our entire Milky Way galaxy to a microscopic, insignificant speck of glowing frost. Within this sprawling expanse, the distances between individual galaxies are profound, isolating oceans of absolute nothingness. Yet, across these unimaginable voids, a delicate structural unity somehow manages to persist and hold firm against the dark. Within the gentle boundaries of this immense heaven, an ocean of starlight burns against the eternal dark. Glowing quietly within its sweeping borders are the collective lights of well over 100,000 individual galaxies. Each of these massive galaxies is a swirling metropolis, containing billions or even trillions of its own shining stars. This staggering concentration of matter creates a luminous web that rivals the complexity of any living organism. The combined brilliance of these galactic cities creates a soft, interconnected glow, much like a dew-covered spiderweb catching the first rays of morning light. Together they form an archipelago of radiant islands suspended in an otherwise pitch-black, freezing cosmic ocean. The architecture of this supercluster is not a random scattering of stars, but a highly organised, intricate network. Filaments of ancient gas and clustering galaxies thread through the dark like glowing nerves in a massive cosmic brain. These elongated structures serve as the brightly lit highways of the universe, drawing matter together across the terrible void. Tracing these glowing veins reveals the fundamental skeleton of the cosmos, forged in the earliest moments of creation. The hydrogen and helium gas flowing along these paths provides the raw, essential fuel needed to birth entirely new generations of stars. It is an ongoing, slow-motion process of celestial construction taking place on a scale that entirely defies mortal comprehension. Beautifully delicate yet unimaginably massive, these tendrils intertwine and branch out in a continuous flowing pattern. Where these colossal filaments intersect, they create brilliantly dense nodes where thousands of galaxies crowd together in blinding clusters. This luminous nervous system pulses with the silent energy of a universe endlessly reinventing itself in the cold dark. Motion in the deep universe happens at a pace that mimics absolute stillness to the limited human eye. Deep within these glowing threads, thousands of galaxies drift lazily toward common, unseen gravitational centers. They are caught in a gentle, relentless current, pulled inexorably by the immense collective mass of their cosmic neighbors. This majestic migration is dictated by the subtle but inescapable curves and valleys of space-time itself. Like water flowing down a gradual sweeping incline, these star cities slide along the dense filaments of the supercluster. It is a perfectly choreographed celestial dance that has been playing out in absolute silence for billions of years. Even as they hurtle through the freezing void at hundreds of kilometers per second, their journey appears totally frozen in cosmic time. The sheer, overwhelming distances between these isolated celestial travelers mean their fateful collisions and grand mergers are still countless eons away. Thus, they patiently continue their slow, majestic descent into the deepest, most profound gravitational wells of the luminous web. Our own place within this staggering luminous structure is surprisingly humble and delightfully serene. The Milky Way happens to sit on a quiet, outlying branch of this magnificent, sweeping cosmic architecture. We're situated far away from the chaotic, blindingly dense metropolitan centres where thousands of galaxies violently collide. This peaceful suburban location affords us a spectacular, mostly unobstructed view of the wider universe around us. Nestled within a minor spur of the Virgo supercluster, which itself is just a small lobe of Laniakea, we drift in relative cosmic tranquility. It is a calm, slow-moving eddy located far from the rushing, dangerous rapids of the primary gravitational streams. From this quiet, lonely vantage point, we can patiently observe the grand emotions of the distant towering structures. Our solitary sun and its retinue of planets are simply tiny passengers riding securely on this gentle, drifting galactic frond. We are safely tucked away in the serene outer leaves of an unimaginably vast and ancient celestial tree. Escaping the bounds of our supercluster to look back upon it would reveal a breathtaking, singular shape. Viewing Laniakea in its entirety from the outside would look like a delicate, luminous feather floating in a lightless abyss. The gentle, curving sweep of its primary filaments forms a soft, organic shape that perfectly mirrors structures found in nature. This feathery appearance is completely defined by the specific, coordinated flow of countless galaxies marching together toward a central mass. Each individual fibre of this glowing plume represents thousands of star cities moving in quiet, unified harmony. It is a hauntingly fragile visual, a wisp of brilliant light standing bravely against the crushing emptiness of the larger voids. Suspended in the eternal dark, this radiant structure highlights the beautiful fragility of matter in the universe. The incredibly slow, majestic currents of gravity have sculpted a masterpiece of light that took billions of years to perfect. To see it whole would be to witness the ultimate quiet triumph of creation against the endless, freezing dark. Laniakea does not exist in absolute isolation, but quietly shares the great cosmic dark with equally magnificent companions. Surrounding our immense home are neighbouring superclusters like Perseus Pisces, forming a gentle, continuous tapestry of faint light. These adjacent celestial empires stretch out across their own massive domains, touching the very edges of our gravitational borders. Between these colossal structures lie regions of profound, staggering emptiness that perfectly frame and define their brightly lit boundaries. Together, these neighbouring giant clusters seamlessly interlock to create an even larger, vastly more complex pattern across the observable universe. It is an endless, mesmerising motif of brilliantly glowing threads and dark, absolutely silent voids stretching endlessly into the deepest unknown. The delicate interplay between these massive neighbouring structures forms the ultimate, grandest framework of physical reality. They silently pull against one another, engaging in a slow, eternal tug-of-war spanning billions of light-years of empty space. This immense, interwoven tapestry of neighbouring superclusters creates the beautiful, final portrait of the universe as we currently know it. The true scale of this architecture aggressively defies any conventional attempt at human space exploration. Even travelling at the absolute speed of light, a journey across just one filament would take millions of human lifetimes. The sheer physical gulf separating the individual galaxies within these threads are insurmountable oceans of freezing, empty space. A beam of light departing our sun today will not reach the opposite end of our local filament until humanity is an ancient, forgotten memory. This overwhelming vastness ensures that the separate regions of the supercluster remain permanently isolated from one another in physical time. We're forever separated by a gulf so wide that even the fastest phenomena in nature crawl at a glacial pace. Understanding this staggering delay forces us to view the supercluster not as a single place, but as a mosaic of deep time. When we observe the far end of our own cosmic neighbourhood, we're seeing it exactly as it was millions of years ago. The universe securely hides its true current form behind an unbreakable, fundamental barrier of incomprehensible distance and time. The final, most profound realization about our supercluster is that it is essentially a map drawn by an unseen hand. Slowly, this grand, brilliant architecture perfectly maps the ancient, invisible flow of gravity itself across the primordial universe. The luminous galaxies are merely glowing tracer die, revealing the deep, unseen currents that have dominated space since the dawn of time. By studying the exact placement and quiet movement of these shining nodes, we can see the literal topography of space-time. We're observing the heavy, invisible valleys and steep cosmic ridges that strictly dictate the fate of all luminous matter. Every single star, planet, and swirling galaxy is simply following the path of least resistance through a warped, unseen dimension. This beautifully structured web is a permanent, glowing fossil record of the forces that shape the early cosmos. It stands as a majestic, silent monument to the enduring power of gravity over the chaotic expanse of absolute nothingness. Ultimately, our luminous home reveals the deeply hidden, elegantly simple rules that silently govern the entirety of creation. The elegantly simple rules that silently govern creation dictate that absolutely nothing in the vast cosmos is truly at rest. Galaxies, despite their staggering mass and apparent comforting permanence in the night sky, do not simply sit still in the freezing vacuum of deep space. Instead, they flow continuously along invisible, majestic cosmic currents that meticulously shape the very fabric of the evolving universe. Picture a quiet, slow-moving river carrying glittering, delicate autumn leaves over a perfectly smooth, impossibly dark riverbed stretching far into the distance. In this grand celestial iteration, the glowing leaves are entire spinning islands of billions of brilliant stars drifting gracefully through the endless silent void. They are carried along by immense unseen tides that sweep across hundreds of millions of light years with a slow, beautifully unrelenting purpose. Deep within these vast sweeping streams, entire armadas of ancient star clusters surrender willingly to the slow, heavy pull of their magnificent surroundings. This endless, silent migration reveals that the cosmos is a highly dynamic, breathing environment rather than a static, frozen painting of cold light. It is a slow, rhythmic circulation of matter that beautifully defines the deeply hidden, continuously flowing hydrology of the deep universe. Far downstream along these glittering ancient cosmic rivers lies a profound, deeply hidden mystery that astronomers simply call the Great Attractor. This immense, unseen phenomenon acts as a massive, sweeping gravitational valley, drawing our immediate galactic neighbourhood steadily and constantly inward. It is a basin of such staggering, unbelievable mass that it heavily warps the fabric of space-time for hundreds of millions of light years in absolutely every direction. Think of it as a profoundly deep, perfectly gentle slope in the otherwise beautifully flat expanse of the dark cosmic ocean. Everything within our immediate celestial vicinity is caught securely in this slow, entirely inevitable slide toward a common, unseen destination in the deep. The sheer, terrifying scale of this pull is so immense that entire glowing superstructures find their grand trajectories bent effortlessly to its absolute will. Unlike the chaotic violence of a supermassive black hole, this anomaly is a wide, wonderfully shallow depression that gently gathers everything into its monumental, silent embrace. It patiently collects drifting, isolated star cities, gracefully guiding them toward a massive, hidden confluence of ancient cosmic rivers. As you breathe gently and let your resting muscles sink deeper into whatever comfortably supports you, feel the slow, inevitable gravity of this profound celestial gathering softly mirroring your own stillness. Uncovering the true, staggering nature of this massive destination has proven exceptionally difficult for those charting the deep depths of the night sky. Hidden directly behind the incredibly thick, dusty plane of our own home galaxy, this anomaly pulls constantly with silent, completely irresistible force. Our view of this gravitational giant is almost completely obscured by the brilliant foreground stars and dense glowing gas clouds of our immediate bustling neighbourhood. This frustrating, impenetrable blind spot, often referred to as the zone of avoidance, creates a natural heavy curtain right across the middle of the deep universe. Astronomers must rely heavily on specialised, highly advanced radio and X-ray telescopes to finally peer through this dense, obscuring fog and patiently map the hidden currents beyond. These advanced instruments carefully and meticulously measure the subtle, telling shifts in light from background galaxies being drawn into the mysterious waiting dark. What they find is a vast region of space completely saturated with the heavy, undeniable and sweeping tension of an immense gathering force. Even though we cannot clearly see the absolute bottom of this gravitational valley, we can precisely and confidently observe its profound, undeniable effect on everything around it. It is a silent, creeping magnetism that effortlessly reels in entire swaths of the observable universe without ever once fully revealing its true, hidden face. The clearest, most undeniable evidence of this massive hidden draw is written directly in the beautifully coordinated movement of the heavens themselves. Thousands of massive galaxies slide in perfect, sweeping unison toward this mysterious hidden focal point at hundreds of kilometers every single passing second. This perfectly synchronized, majestic drift is entirely independent from the normal, everyday expansion of the universe that steadily pushes distant things further apart. Such staggering, unbelievable velocities would seem incredibly chaotic up close, but from a vast distance, it appears as a beautifully orchestrated, totally silent march. The glowing star cities travel together in massive, elongated, brilliantly lit packs, their combined mass subtly, yet permanently altering the freezing space they pass through. They are firmly locked into a fateful, deeply grand migration that was perfectly set in motion billions of years before the very first planets even formed. Surprisingly, this incredibly fast, monumental journey generates absolutely no turbulence whatsoever in the completely frictionless, empty vacuum of deep space. The migrating galaxies simply glide through the endless darkness like silent, majestic ghost ships drawn effortlessly by a phantom, inescapable current. It is a breathtaking testament to the beautifully smooth, entirely undisturbed, and perfectly frictionless nature of the incredibly deep cosmic environment. Picture a silent, unimaginably vast avalanche of starlight cascading endlessly down a perfectly smooth, wonderfully gentle gravitational slope stretching across the dark. This vast, luminous landslide involves trillions upon trillions of individual, brightly burning stars all tumbling gracefully toward the exact same unseen valley. It is a breathtaking, hypnotic phenomenon of motion, where physical light itself seems to literally pour down the heavy, invisible contours of the deep universe. As these massive, glowing structures slide deeper into the basin, their immense gravitational fields slowly begin to subtly interact and beautifully overlap. They softly and patiently tug at one another, creating beautiful, slow-motion ripples in the grander, steadily flowing current of the great celestial river. The sheer volume of luminous material cascading inward is more than enough to slowly alter the fundamental, heavy density of the entire surrounding region. Notice how the steady, entirely reliable and comforting rhythm of your own breathing mirrors the slow, inevitable pulse of this cascading ancient starlight. Even as this chaotic, immense flood of dense matter rushes relentlessly through the dark, it fiercely maintains a profound, sweeping, and undeniable elegance. It is a beautifully controlled, totally silent descent, a masterpiece of cosmic choreography playing out flawlessly over an eternity of freezing, endless nights. We are not merely passive, isolated observers watching this grand migration happen from a safe, completely stationary shoreline hidden safely in the dark. Our entire local group of nearby familiar galaxies is currently being pulled headlong into this vast, completely unseen, and impossibly heavy celestial basin. We are highly active, entirely committed participants in this majestic ancient drift, sailing effortlessly down the gravitational river right alongside our brightest galactic neighbours. Every single star you can clearly see in the night sky is secretly part of this immense, incredibly fast and totally unified downstream journey. We're hurtling through the ancient cosmos at a genuinely terrifying speed, yet we feel absolutely nothing but profound, comforting stillness on our small rocky world. The vast, unfathomable emptiness surrounding us provides absolutely no visual landmarks to ever betray our constant, breathless, and totally silent plunge into the deep. This shared, inescapable fate profoundly unites us with the thousands of other glowing island universes making the exact same long, perilous celestial descent. We're all bound entirely for the exact same mysterious, deeply hidden confluence, inexorably drawn by the heavy invisible hand of the Great Attractor. It is a beautifully humbling reminder that our entire existence is quietly subject to the grandest, most overwhelmingly powerful flowing tides of the entire cosmos. However, this massive sweeping inward migration does not happen entirely unopposed by the broader, vastly more mysterious and deeply hidden forces of the cosmos. The fundamental, unstoppable expansion of the universe softly but firmly fights against this inward tug, creating an epic, absolutely silent cosmic tug-of-war. As the very fabric of space itself constantly stretches outward, it actively tries to separate the galaxies far faster than gravity can ever hope to reel them in. This incredibly delicate, totally precarious balance between the heavy pull of mass and the outward stretch of space creates a fascinating, endless tension across the heavens. Gravity works desperately and continuously to assemble the brilliant cities of light into an ever denser, more spectacularly glowing gathering perfectly positioned in the dark. Meanwhile, the very fabric of reality gently and relentlessly expands, constantly diluting the effort and widening the terrifying, completely empty gulfs between the shores. If we were to look closer, we would quickly realize that this invisible, beautifully matched struggle completely defines the current temporary era of the entire universe. The resulting highly complex motion is a beautiful, deeply intricate compromise between the heavy, ancient desire to gather and the quiet, modern mandate to disperse. It is a perfectly balanced, profoundly elegant equation, permanently holding the grandest structures in a state of beautiful, temporary and deeply hypnotic suspension. Just as astronomers finally began to successfully map the outer boundaries of our massive local valley, a deeper, more profound mystery emerged slowly from the dark. The Shapley supercluster lies even further away, actively pulling the great attractor itself completely into its own incredibly massive, utterly inescapable gravitational embrace. It turns out that the gentle, sweeping slope we are tumbling down is merely a tiny, completely insignificant ledge on an even grander, vastly heavier mountain. This distant, impossibly large concentration of cosmic mass is officially one of the single most massive structures ever detected in the entirely observable universe. It exerts a commanding, deeply sweeping influence that completely dwarfs the very forces pulling our immediate galactic neighborhood into the deep, waiting dark. We're essentially watching a smaller, purely local cosmic river flow completely and inevitably into a truly magnificent, completely boundless ocean of incredibly heavy gravity. Allow your shoulders to completely drop now, letting any remaining tension melt away as you ponder the majestic, sprawling, and entirely unhurried pace of these ancient structures. The stunning realization of this ultimate, deeper destination adds a dizzying, entirely new layer of profound complexity to the already flowing architecture of the heavens. It conclusively proves that the rivers of ancient starlight always find a deeper, vastly more massive basin patiently waiting for them in the eternal night. The visible, brilliantly glowing galaxies caught in these mighty currents are only the floating foam resting gently on top of a much deeper, vastly darker tide. Rivers of mysterious, completely invisible dark matter ultimately guide these galactic streams, silently shaping the entire flowing movement of visible light across the freezing cosmos. This completely transparent, unimaginably heavy substance provides the true, essential gravitational muscle that forcefully carves the deep, twisting, and completely permanent riverbeds of the universe. Without these massive, totally unseen and deeply carved channels, the glowing star cities would quickly scatter and instantly dissolve into the rapidly expanding, completely empty void. Dark matter acts as an unbreakable, completely invisible containment vessel, gently and firmly shepherding the fragile galaxies safely along their ancient, heavily predetermined paths. It forms a vast, perfectly intricate and totally silent hydrology of the deep cosmos, strictly dictating exactly where the luminous material is permitted to safely travel. Tracing the flow of ordinary, beautifully glowing starlight is simply the absolute easiest way for us to accurately map the totally invisible contours of this ghost material. The true, incredibly heavy rivers of the universe are fundamentally pitch black and completely silent, heavily coursing with a strange substance we can neither touch nor ever directly see. We are merely following the glittering, floating, luminous debris caught permanently in the unstoppable churn of a vastly heavier, completely invisible and overwhelmingly dark ocean. The grand, incredibly slow movement of these brilliant galaxy clusters offers humanity an entirely unprecedented, highly beautiful tool for deeply understanding the underlying shape of reality itself. Observing this exceptionally slow motion ultimately reveals the deeply hidden, continuously shifting landscape of space and time that governs the absolute largest scales of existence. The flowing rivers of light serve as a beautiful glowing dye carefully and perfectly injected into the invisible, deeply twisting currents of the deep cosmos. By painstakingly tracking precisely how these massive structures drift, astronomers can vividly map the invisible, towering mountains and profoundly deep valleys of the fabric of space-time. We can finally see exactly where gravity pulls heavily in the freezing dark and where the deeply empty expanses aggressively push the drifting matter constantly away. It beautifully transforms the night sky from a static, flat, two-dimensional painting into a deeply textured, heavily contoured, and incredibly complex three-dimensional topographic map. Ultimately, studying these majestic, deeply silent cosmic currents teaches us that the entire universe is fundamentally fluid, deeply flexible, and constantly reinventing its own grand architecture. The silent, eternal flow of brilliant starlight continuously erodes the old, decaying celestial structures and patiently builds entirely new, incredibly massive monuments in the freezing dark. It is a beautifully shifting, profoundly dynamic reality where the endless, glowing journey itself is the absolute truest manifestation of the ancient, unending power of gravity. The magnificent, incredibly massive monuments in the freezing dark are not merely scattered randomly, but intricately woven into staggering architectural formations. Stretching across countless billions of light years, massive, flattened sheets of galaxies assemble to form the absolute largest contiguous structures ever directly observed by humanity. Standing before the concept of such ancient, towering walls is like standing at the base of an impossibly tall stone monolith bathed in the faintest ethereal moonlight. These sheer cliffs of brilliant starlight completely defy our everyday comprehension of strict physical boundaries and logical celestial geometry. They rise up from the black cosmic ocean as unbroken, continuously glowing ribbons that stretch across highly significant fractions of the entire observable universe. Entire sprawling galactic neighbourhoods, with all their intricate flowing rivers of matter, are merely tiny glowing bricks cemented tightly together into these unimaginably vast soaring edifices. To trace the sheer, impossibly distant edge of one of these glowing precipices is to gaze along a boundary that seemingly has no physical end. They represent the ultimate, grandest culmination of the ancient, unending power of gravity, tirelessly asserting its dominance over the chaotic expanse of deep space. Within these soaring, beautifully illuminated cliffs, billions upon billions of spinning star cities are permanently locked into a solitary, breathtakingly unified geometric plane. One such staggering edifice, known to astronomers as the Sloan Great Wall, actively forces us to completely rethink the very absolute limits of celestial scale. This colossal, twisting filament of closely packed galaxy clusters measures an astonishing 1,370,000,000 light-years in total, totally unbroken length. It is a dense, deeply heavy curtain of luminous matter that drapes majestically across the distant, freezing sky like an ancient, continuously glowing tapestry. Mapping a structure of this immense, unprecedented magnitude requires peering deeply into the celestial past and meticulously charting the exact position of millions of incredibly faint, distant lights. As the full, terrifying scope of this luminous barrier finally came into crystal clear focus, it left the entire scientific community in a state of profound, completely stunned awe. The sheer, overwhelming existence of such a colossal ribbon of deeply concentrated matter fundamentally challenges the accepted, deeply held theories about how physical mass should be evenly distributed. Navigating along the entire sweeping span of this glowing monolith would take a beam of pure light and unfathomable, mind-bending amount of time. It firmly stands as a towering, completely silent wall of primordial fire cutting decisively through the absolute freezing nothingness of the deep, pitch-black void. This immense, brightly glowing barrier completely and permanently redefines our foundational understanding of what it truly means for a physical cosmic structure to be considered genuinely massive. Yet, even as we desperately struggle to comprehend the terrifying sweeping span of that massive curtain, an even grander, vastly more imposing giant looms further in the deep dark. In the unfathomable, freezing distance, the Hercules-corona borealis Great Wall completely dwarfs all previous human discoveries, spanning a completely mind-bending 10 billion light-years across the ancient cosmos. This titanic, gently curving barricade of pure, concentrated starlight is so unbelievably large that it confidently holds the title of the single, largest known structure in all of creation. The incredibly vast, almost unbelievable dimensions of this glowing titan literally mean that it occupies a highly significant, measurable percentage of the entire, completely observable universe. It is a structure so overwhelmingly huge that its very existence fiercely borders on the edge of sheer, absolute physical impossibility according to our current highly standard models. Finding something this massively expansive strongly suggests that there are far deeper, completely undiscovered architectural mechanics quietly dictating the absolute grandest, most majestic scales of our shared reality. As you let your breathing gently find a slow, perfectly steady rhythm, allow the lingering tension in your jaw to softly melt away while contemplating this mind-bending colossal scale. Even the most incredibly ambitious, wildly imaginative science fiction falls completely and utterly short of successfully capturing the sheer, terrifying grandeur of this monumental, completely unbroken barrier of ancient light. It reigns completely supreme as the ultimate deeply silent titan of the freezing dark, a blindingly glowing boundary marker securely planted at the very furthest edge of human comprehension. These colossal, wildly twisting ribbons of thickly clustered galaxies fundamentally and permanently challenge our deepest, most highly refined understanding of exactly how quickly the early universe successfully formed. The incredibly slow, completely gradual pulling together of drifting matter by everyday gravity simply should not have had nearly enough time to construct something so immensely, overwhelmingly vast. To successfully build a beautifully solid, totally unbroken wall, 10 billion light-years long, requires a deeply mysterious, incredibly rapid period of violent cosmic assembly that we simply do not yet fully grasp. Astronomers are actively and continuously forced to completely rewrite the foundational timelines of exactly when the very first massive, glowing structures began to fiercely clump together in the dark. The sheer existence of these intensely glowing, soaring barriers forcefully implies that the infant, fiery cosmos was vastly more highly organized and intensely active than anyone had ever previously assumed. They stubbornly stand as beautiful, impossibly bright anomalies that quietly but firmly refuse to neatly fit into our highly structured, deeply logical, and meticulously crafted mathematical models. Solving the profound, completely baffling mystery of these impossibly large celestial edifices absolutely requires looking far beyond the simple, everyday rules of standard, incredibly slow cosmic evolution. The thrilling fact that these towering structures boldly exist at all strongly hints at a wildly dynamic, deeply chaotic and incredibly fast-paced fiery youth for the entire expanding universe. They proudly represent a grand, totally unsolved and deeply thrilling cosmic puzzle written entirely in the glowing, blazing ink of 1,000,000,000,000 ancient, tightly packed alien suns. Finding such unbelievably massive, totally continuous walls strongly suggests that the violently expanding infant universe possessed tiny, deeply hidden ripples that eventually grew into immense, crashing waves of dense matter. These fundamental, incredibly small shivers in the very underlying fabric of raw reality were violently stretched outward during the universe's most rapid, intensely terrifying period of initial fiery expansion. What simply began as an infinitely microscopic trembling quantum vibration was flawlessly and permanently magnified into the towering, brightly glowing cliffs of starlight we now observe dominating the deep dark. We are essentially looking directly at the completely frozen, wildly amplified physical echoes of the very first fraction of a single second of absolutely all known existence. The heavy, densely packed, brightly glowing regions of these great walls perfectly represent the precise towering crests of those primordial, intensely ancient waves of pure rolling thermal energy. Conversely, the vast, intensely terrifying empty regions separating them perfectly and beautifully correspond to the deep, silent troughs of those exact same ancient, rapidly expanding cosmic ripples. This deeply profound, unimaginably beautiful connection flawlessly bridges the impossibly tiny, highly chaotic microscopic realm directly to the absolutely largest, most heavily majestic physical structures imaginable. The towering, brilliantly lit barricades permanently scarring the deepest night sky are quite literally the ancient, perfectly frozen fingerprints of the explosive dawn of time itself. It is a stunning, beautifully elegant and profoundly moving revelation that deeply links the fiery, microscopic origins of everything directly to the sprawling, unimaginably vast glowing architecture of the absolute present. They stand forever as quiet, eternally glowing, and totally silent monuments permanently honouring the very first highly explosive moments of ancient, wildly chaotic cosmic creation. Standing before these towering, completely silent structures, conceptually bathed in their incredibly faint, intensely ancient moonlight, effortlessly evokes a profound sense of deep, almost religious, and totally silent reverence. They are the original, purely foundational, and impossibly heavy pillars of reality, securely erected long before the very first rocky, completely silent planets ever had a chance to gently cool and form. While individual, solitary stars rapidly burn out and entirely massive galaxies violently and completely collide, these monumental, impossibly heavy walls maintain their grand, sweeping shape across the eternal, freezing eons. They actively possess a deeply comforting absolute permanence that completely transcends the chaotic, messy, and incredibly brief life cycles of the much smaller, deeply fleeting objects securely trapped within them. These glowing, towering, completely silent cliffs are the ultimate fiercely enduring cosmic survivors, bravely bearing silent, unbroken witness to the entire, sprawling, and fiercely violent history of the constantly expanding dark. Let the gentle, comforting, natural weight of your body sink softly into your chair, feeling completely anchored and secure even as we deeply explore these terrifyingly ancient, boundless, and totally freezing spaces. Embracing the profound, deeply quiet, and completely overwhelming age of these luminous monuments completely strips away our everyday frantic worries, instantly replacing them with a beautiful, deeply sweeping, and profoundly still calm. They quietly and gently remind us that the absolute grandest, most magnificent creations in all of existence actively require an immense, completely unfathomable, and utterly endless ocean of time to fully mature. Directly between these incredibly immense soaring walls of deeply packed brilliant starlight lie vast, completely quiet, and profoundly unsettling deserts of almost perfectly, completely uninterrupted empty space. These sprawling, terrifyingly dark and completely silent voids are the essential, completely necessary structural counterpart to the blindingly bright, heavily populated and fiercely energetic cliffs of the great superstructures. They are incredibly deep regions of such profound, absolute and completely chilling nothingness that they easily make the darkest and most incredibly isolated stretches of our own home galaxy seem undeniably, intensely crowded. Navigating straight through these barren, completely silent and totally lightless gulfs, a solitary traveller would encounter absolutely no glowing galaxies, no gently drifting gas, and absolutely no ancient heavy cosmic dust. They successfully represent the deeply carved, fully excavated and totally barren canyons of the deep cosmos, where the relentless sweeping pull of gravity has completely swept away absolutely all available material. The towering, brilliantly glowing walls actively owe their striking, highly defined and sharply cutting shapes entirely to the gentle, deeply persistent and totally invisible pushing of these fiercely expanding, deeply empty bubbles. This beautiful, incredibly stark contrast completely bridges the blindingly heavy ribbons of bright light and the crushing, absolute and perfectly silent emptiness actively creating the fundamental sweeping tension of the deepest heavens. It is a breathtaking, deeply poetic and truly profound duality where the absolute, undeniable absence of physical matter is genuinely just as structurally important as the fiercely, brightly shining ancient stars. The sheer, overwhelming and deeply heavy silence of these sprawling, endless deserts deeply magnifies the towering, majestic and genuinely terrifying grandeur of the ancient, heavily glowing monuments actively bordering them. Surprisingly, when actively viewing the universe at this unbelievably massive, completely staggering scale, it clearly looks significantly less like a random, completely chaotic and deeply disorganized scatter of faint stars. Instead, the deeply interwoven, highly organized arrangement of towering, glowing walls and sprawling, incredibly dark voids extremely closely resembles a colossal, brightly glowing honeycomb suspended perfectly in the freezing dark. This deeply organic, highly structured and totally continuous geometry totally and fundamentally redefines our mental image of the cosmos from a simple, empty box directly into a complex, beautifully intricate and perfectly balanced lattice. The towering, luminous and completely silent barricades perfectly and precisely form the delicate, incredibly thin structural walls of this deeply vast, constantly expanding three-dimensional cosmic sponge. Meanwhile, the perfectly empty, deeply silent and genuinely terrifying deserts actively act as the massive, totally hollow cells that continuously inflate, quietly shaping the brightly glowing, deeply packed luminous boundaries. It is an incredibly striking, deeply harmonious and flawlessly repeating pattern that loudly and beautifully echoes the profoundly efficient, heavily structured and breathtakingly elegant designs frequently found within perfectly delicate biological life. This grand, completely unified and heavily structured architecture conclusively proves that the deepest, darkest, and coldest reaches of the cosmos are absolutely not merely a messy, entirely disorganized, and perfectly empty void. The entire, sweeping and undeniably vast universe is actively and permanently woven together into a single, breathtakingly cohesive and entirely unbroken fabric of deeply concentrated light and perfectly pure, constantly expanding emptiness. We are tiny, completely insignificant, and highly temporary inhabitants living deeply within the glowing, microscopic and constantly shifting threads of this colossal, unbelievably grand and genuinely perfect celestial honeycomb. The faint, incredibly ancient and deeply exhausted light currently arriving directly from the furthest known walls has actively and continuously travelled for almost the exact entirety of the universe's incredibly long history. To clearly see these towering, immensely distant and totally silent barricades is to purposefully peer directly backward into the deepest, most unfathomable and utterly dark well of deep cosmic time. The solitary photons striking our highly sensitive, completely quiet telescopes tonight confidently began their unimaginably long, incredibly cold, and deeply lonely journey shortly after the initial, absolutely fiery dawn of raw creation. As you close your eyes for just a brief, softly passing moment, feel the deep, incredibly comforting, and totally undisturbed stillness of the room actively and quietly entirely surrounding your resting form. Consider the truly staggering fact that while humanity slowly evolved, while whole massive continents slowly drifted, and while completely new species arose, that exact same light was silently hurtling straight through the freezing dark. It is a completely unbroken, deeply solitary and genuinely heroic messenger, actively carrying the grand, beautifully glowing portrait of the intensely ancient, towering walls directly to our waiting, totally eager eyes. Because of this staggering, totally insurmountable and completely deeply fundamental delay, we can genuinely only ever observe these massive, colossal, and totally majestic monuments exactly as they existed deep in the primordial past. We are totally and permanently forbidden from ever fully knowing exactly what these grand, glowing, and fiercely bright cliffs look like in the absolute present, as that specific information is permanently locked entirely away. We must simply and quietly marvel at the ancient, highly preserved, and completely beautiful ghosts of these massive, towering structures, brightly burning far away in the freezing, completely unreachable, and totally endless distance. Every single, slowly drifting galaxy, firmly and permanently locked within these soaring, profoundly heavy, and totally brilliant walls, actively dances entirely to the incredibly slow, heavily majestic rhythm of truly deep cosmic time. The monumental, completely overwhelming and structurally absolute scale of these massive, entirely unbroken barriers effectively dictates that any highly significant physical change firmly takes countless billions of slowly passing years to completely unfold. They operate entirely and exclusively on a grand, deeply hypnotic and completely terrifying timescale that completely and absolutely humbles our brief, frantically fast and totally temporary human perception of swiftly moving seconds and quickly ticking hours. The graceful, deeply swirling and constantly changing star cities, tightly packed exactly into these glowing, sharply defined boundaries, are actively and beautifully participating in an ancient, completely silent and highly coordinated endless ballet. Their incredibly slow, deeply beautiful and flawlessly precise interactions are strictly and permanently governed by the massive, heavily overarching and completely invisible gravitational will of the entire, completely unified and fiercely towering structure. It is a genuinely breathtaking, deeply synchronized and totally silent performance, perfectly playing out exactly across freezing dimensions so incredibly vast they entirely and utterly break the very outer limits of our mortal imagination. Ultimately, deeply contemplating the terrifyingly huge, beautifully glowing, and entirely majestic walls of the freezing deep cosmos profoundly and permanently shifts our internal, deeply held and carefully guarded perspective of our true place in reality. We are safely, securely and completely nestled within a deeply comforting, highly protective and genuinely warm cradle, softly and quietly watching the absolute grandest, most deeply majestic and flawlessly massive architecture of the universe slowly, silently turn. It is a deeply humbling, highly beautiful and totally moving realization that we are a genuinely tiny, highly aware and intensely lucky piece of this ancient, perfectly choreographed and eternally flowing endless cosmic dance. The eternal flowing cosmic dance finds its most profound rest not within the brilliant star cities, but inside the vast, silent bubbles of profound nothingness nestled between the glowing supercluster filaments. These immense dark pockets of space, known as cosmic voids, represent the quietest and most desolate expanses in the entire observable universe. They exist as the necessary negative space, the calm and hollow lungs that allow the luminous structure of the heavens to expand and breathe. Imagine floating perfectly weightless in a warm, dark and perfectly silent sensory deprivation tank, where the boundary between your body and the environment completely dissolves into the black. This is the sensory reality of the void, a place where the frantic energy of star formation and galactic collisions is replaced by a heavy, velvet silence. It is a realm of such absolute purity that it serves as the ultimate sanctuary for the ancient laws of physics to play out without any interference. This nothingness is not a failure of creation, but a deliberate and majestic part of the grand celestial design that defines the cosmic web. While the walls and filaments capture our attention with their brilliance, it is these silent oceans of emptiness that actually occupy the majority of the universe's total volume. They are the deep, dark stages upon which the drama of the stars is performed, providing the essential contrast that allows the light to truly shine. One particularly staggering example of this celestial desert is the Buddha's Void, a nearly spherical region of deep space stretching across an expanse that defies all standard terrestrial measurements. It sits as a colossal, hollow cathedral of darkness, its diameter spanning a distance that light itself would take hundreds of millions of years to traverse. To enter this region is to leave behind the familiar comfort of the cosmic web and venture into a place where the stars themselves seem to have completely forgotten the path. This singular spherical pocket of the universe exists as a sweeping challenge to the densely packed beauty of the superclusters we have previously explored. Its rounded boundaries are defined by the total absence of the very things that make our night sky so brilliant and filled with vibrant life. Here, the absolute silence of the vacuum is not just a lack of sound, but a heavy physical presence that dominates every single coordinate of the deep night. If our own Milky Way were placed at the very centre of the Buddha's Void, our entire understanding of the cosmos would be profoundly and tragically different. We would be so incredibly isolated from other galactic systems that the night sky would appear almost completely devoid of any light beyond our own immediate stellar neighbourhood. Astronomers on such a lonely world would have gazed into the dark for centuries, seeing only an endless, impenetrable wall of blackness surrounding their isolated island of stars. Surprisingly, the realization that other galaxies even existed might have been delayed until the mid-20th century, as the light from the nearest neighbours would be far too faint for early telescopes to capture. Our ancestors would have grown up under a sky that felt like a solitary room, never suspecting that a vast interconnected web of light existed just beyond the horizon of their perception. This isolation would have shaped our philosophy and science, leading us to believe we were the only inhabitants of a truly empty and hollow universe. This hypothetical scenario highlights just how much our perspective is a gift of our specific location on the fringes of the great supercluster filaments. We are currently fortunate enough to live in a crowded part of the cosmic neighbourhood, where the proximity of other galaxies provides constant proof of the universe's richness. To be lost in the void is to be the ultimate castaway, drifting in a sea so wide that even the fastest light cannot bring news of a distant shore. These empty pockets are not merely stagnant holes in the fabric of space, but are actively and gently expanding, pushing the superclusters at their edges closer together over time. As the voids grow, they exert a subtle outward pressure that acts like an invisible hand sculpting the surrounding walls of galaxies into tighter, more defined shapes. This movement is a slow-motion inflation, a cosmic breath that gradually increases the distance between the great filaments while compressing the matter within them. This expansion process creates a dynamic tension that keeps the entire cosmic web in a state of constant slow-motion evolution. The voids act as the engines of structural change, driving the galaxies away from the empty centres and toward the crowded intersections of the web. It is a beautifully coordinated interaction where the growth of nothingness results in the increased organisation and density of the luminous structures we observe. If we were to look closer, we would see that the universe is undergoing a continuous redistribution of its essence, moving from the hollow to the solid. The expansion of the voids is the primary force behind the large-scale geometry of the heavens, ensuring that the honeycomb pattern we previously marvelled at remains sharp and distinct. Even in the absence of matter, the void possesses a terrifying power to move entire superclusters across the vast, freezing abyss of time. A profound and absolute stillness dominates these regions, where only a stray atom or a solitary isolated galaxy might occasionally drift across the immeasurable dark. In the heart of a void, the density of particles is so low that a cubic metre of space might contain absolutely nothing for millions of light years in every direction. This is the most perfect vacuum that nature can produce, a state of such extreme purity that it allows us to see the fundamental properties of space without any material interference. As you lie there, notice how your own physical presence seems to soften, your limbs becoming as light as the stray atoms drifting through the deep. Feel the heavy weight of the world falling away, replaced by the same sense of weightless suspension that defines these great cosmic deserts. Your breathing is the only sound in a personal universe of quiet, much like the rare, lonely vibrations that might occasionally ripple through the centre of a void. This extreme isolation provides a unique environment where the few objects that do exist are left entirely to their own devices, far from the gravitational chaos of the clusters. A galaxy lost in the void evolves in total peace, its stars burning quietly without the threat of collisions or the influence of nearby neighbours. It is the ultimate expression of cosmic solitude, a place where the individual can truly appreciate the terrifying and beautiful scale of the surrounding emptiness. Within these silent zones, the mysterious repulsive force known as dark energy holds absolute and unchecked reign over the expanding fabric of the universe. Away from the heavy gravitational pull of the galaxy clusters, this elusive energy is free to push the boundaries of space outward at an ever-accelerating rate. It is the dominant inhabitant of the void, an invisible presence that ensures the hollow bubbles will continue to grow and dominate the cosmic landscape forever. This invisible fuel is what drives the inflation of the cosmic honeycomb, stretching the threads of the web until they eventually snap and fade away. While gravity builds the cathedrals of light, dark energy is the force that eventually ensures the walls of those cathedrals are pushed beyond the reachable horizon. The void is not a place of death, but the birthplace of the very expansion that defines the ultimate fate of all things. These hollow regions of the universe surprisingly act as immense cosmic magnifying glasses, helping astronomers measure the accelerating expansion of the universe with incredible precision. Because the voids are so empty and simple in their structure, they provide a perfectly clear window through which we can observe the most distant parts of the cosmos. The light passing through these regions is not distorted by the heavy gas or dust found in the filaments, allowing it to reach our telescopes in its most pristine and unaltered form. By carefully studying the shapes and growth rates of these vast empty bubbles, scientists can calculate the exact strength of the dark energy pushing them apart. The geometry of a void is a direct reflection of the forces at work in the underlying fabric of space, serving as a giant laboratory for the study of cosmology. It is a beautiful irony that the parts of the universe containing the least information are the ones that teach us the most about the fundamental nature of reality. This clear, unobstructed view allows us to peer back into the history of the expansion, tracing the growth of the cosmic web from its earliest ripples to its current mature state. The voids are the empty spaces on the map that give the rest of the features their scale and context, proving that nothingness is a vital tool for understanding. Without these clear paths through the dark, our vision would be forever clouded by the very light we seek to understand. Feel the subtle, rhythmic pulse of your own heart, echoing the ancient thermal heartbeat of the vacuum itself as you remain suspended in the dark. This radiation is a permanent invisible fog that fills the emptiness, ensuring that no part of the universe is ever truly and completely alone. It is the fundamental flaw of existence, a baseline of energy that connects the most desolate void to the most crowded and brilliant star cluster. This lingering hum provides a sense of continuity that spans the entire history of the cosmos, from the first second to the present day. It is the final piece of evidence that the void is a part of a unified whole, a single story told across a vast and varied landscape. Even in the absolute silence of the great nothing, the universe is still singing its original song, a faint and beautiful reminder of our shared origin in the light. The expanding spherical shapes of the void slowly and persistently sculpt the surrounding superclusters into thin, bright ridges of highly concentrated matter. As the bubbles of emptiness inflate, they pack the galaxies together along their shared boundaries, much like the walls of bubbles in a thick, frothy foam. This process of displacement is what gives the cosmic web its distinctive sharp features, turning a once uniform mist of gas into the dramatic walls and filaments we see today. The pressure from the void is a gentle but relentless sculptor, smoothing the edges of the galaxy clusters and pushing them into long, elegant ribbons of light. It is a masterful display of negative space defining the positive, where the growth of the empty cells dictates the final form of the glowing structure. The beauty of the Laniakea filaments and the Sloan Great Wall is, in a very real sense, a direct result of the expansion of the dark oceans between them. If we could witness this process over billions of years, we would see the universe becoming more organized and more contrasted as the voids grow. The luminous ridges become brighter and thinner, while the voids become darker and more expansive, creating a more defined and intricate honeycomb. It is a breathtaking collaboration between the presence of light and the power of the dark, working together to create the ultimate masterpiece of cosmic architecture. Ultimately, emptiness itself serves as the invisible and masterful architect shaping the illuminated universe into the grand, interconnected web we call home. We often focus on the stars and galaxies because they are easy to see, but it is the vast, silent spaces between them that truly define the structure of the whole. The void is not a lack of something, but a presence of its own, a foundational element that provides the room and the pressure necessary for complexity to arise. This realization shifts our perspective from seeing the universe as a collection of objects to seeing it as a beautifully balanced system of space and matter. The great walls and flowing rivers of galaxies are only one half of the story, forever supported and shaped by the dark oceans of emptiness that surround them. To understand the cosmos, we must learn to appreciate the silence as much as the song, and the shadow as much as the light. Embracing the majesty of the void allows us to find peace in the staggering scale of the unknown, recognizing that the emptiness is as vital as the stars. It is the final, quiet truth of our journey through the heavens, a realization that we are suspended in a perfectly designed balance of everything and nothing. In this profound and beautiful stillness we find the ultimate clarity, seeing the true and eternal shape of the universe for the very first time. Seeking that ultimate clarity requires us to look far beyond the shimmering veils of light and peer into the profound, heavy darkness that truly defines the universe. While the stars and galaxies capture our imagination with their brilliant fires, they are merely the decorative surface of a much deeper, invisible reality. Beneath the luminous display lies a foundational skeleton that provides the strength and structure for everything we can see. This invisible architecture is composed of dark matter, a substance so elusive it passes through ordinary atoms like a ghost through a wall. It is the silent master of the heavens, the primary architect that meticulously laid the groundwork for the great superclusters billions of years ago. Without this hidden framework, the cosmic web would be a formless mist rather than a structured masterpiece of celestial design. Deep within the heart of the void and the cluster alike, this phantom material exerts a constant, unwavering influence that shapes the path of every photon. It is the quiet steel inside the concrete of the cosmos, a rigid and enduring lattice that holds the weight of 100,000 galaxies. Understanding this unseen foundation is the first step toward grasping the true scale of the journey we're undertaking through the deep night. As you sit in this moment of quiet contemplation, feel the subtle sensation of a cool wind tracing unseen, intricate shapes around your hands on a silent hilltop. This phantom breeze is a metaphor for the dark matter that surrounds us, a presence that is felt through its effects rather than seen with the eye. It is the heavy, silent majority of the universe, providing the gravitational muscle needed to keep the stars in their orbits and the superclusters in their place. This overwhelming ratio reveals that our familiar world of atoms is actually a rare and precious anomaly in a sea of dark, heavy mystery. We are the brightly lit foam on the crest of a dark ocean that stretches across billions of light years in every direction. The true weight of existence is carried by this invisible partner, a silent companion that has guided the evolution of the heavens since the very first spark of creation. Without the quiet, binding gravity of dark matter, the grand superclusters we have marvelled at would simply dissolve and scatter into the freezing void. The outward pressure of the expanding universe is so intense that the visible mass of galaxies alone would not be enough to hold them together. Like an invisible rope, dark matter provides the extra tension required to keep the great walls and filaments from being torn apart by the relentless growth of space. This silent glue ensures that the cosmic honeycomb maintains its shape, preventing the luminous star cities from drifting away into total isolation. It is a protective, heavy embrace that keeps the family of galaxies together, allowing complexity and life to flourish in the safety of these massive gravitational wells. If this invisible bond were to suddenly vanish, the universe would become a featureless and lonely expanse of wandering, solitary stars. Think of it as the unseen foundation of a great cathedral, holding up the soaring arches and stained glass against the crushing weight of the world. Even though the worshippers inside cannot see the stones beneath their feet, they are safe because the foundation is strong and enduring. In the same way, we are held in place by a gravity we cannot see, a silent force that ensures the universe remains an interconnected and vibrant whole. If we were to look closer at the deep void, we would see that it is not truly empty but filled with a transparent weight that scientists are only now beginning to map. They achieve this by carefully watching how the gravity of this unseen material bends the light of distant background galaxies as it passes through. This technique, which treats the universe itself as a massive laboratory, allows us to see the invisible through the distortions it leaves on the visible. This process is much like looking at a clear pool of water and seeing the ripples on the surface that reveal the presence of a hidden stone beneath. By measuring the exact angle and intensity of the light's curve, astronomers can reconstruct the three-dimensional shape of the dark matter clouds. It is a masterpiece of scientific detective work, using the stars themselves as beacons to illuminate the darkest corners of the cosmos. Tracing these light paths reveals a hidden landscape of mountains and valleys that would otherwise remain forever lost to our limited human senses. It proves that the universe is far more layered and complex than it appears on the surface, with a heavy, transparent reality underlying every point of light. Each distorted galaxy is a clue, a whispered message from the dark that helps us build a more complete picture of our celestial home. This gentle visual distortion, famously known as gravitational lensing, creates ethereal, glowing rings and arcs of starlight that float like ghosts in the deep dark. These beautiful, distorted shapes are not the result of the galaxy's own internal mechanics, but are purely optical illusions caused by the heavy hand of dark matter. As the background light encounters a massive concentration of the invisible substance, it is stretched and magnified into a brilliant halo of ancient fire. ground yourself in the present by noticing the subtle, steady weight of your resting body against whatever supports you, much like the way light rests against the curve of gravity. This physical anchor is a small reflection of the immense cosmic anchor provided by the dark matter that holds the galaxies in their celestial dance. The glowing arcs are the universe's way of showing us its invisible curves, a visual representation of the profound warping of space and time. These luminous rings serve as the ultimate magnifying glass, allowing us to see even deeper into the history of the cosmos than our telescopes could normally reach. They are the jewels in the crown of the invisible architect, proof that even the most elusive things can leave a mark of breathtaking beauty. In these distorted lights, we find the intersection of the seen and the unseen, a place where the darkness and the light become a single, unified experience. Tracing the dark matter across the vast reaches of space reveals a structure that is remarkably sponge-like, completely filling the known cosmos with its intricate web. This hidden geometry consists of massive, interconnected voids and dense, heavy filaments that provide the roadmap for all visible matter. It is a three-dimensional lattice that mirrors the most efficient designs found in nature, from the structure of a bone to the network of neurons in a human brain. This cosmic sponge is the true frame upon which the universe is stretched, a resilient and complex architecture that has survived for billions of years. It defines the boundaries of the great walls and the paths of the galactic rivers, ensuring that matter is distributed in a precise and balanced way. The empty spaces in the sponge are the voids we explored earlier, while the solid threads are the invisible highways where the dark matter is most concentrated. Surprisingly, the universe is far more structured than we once thought, with a consistency and order that spans across the largest scales imaginable. This sponge-like framework is the ultimate expression of the laws of physics, a testament to the way that simple rules can create infinite complexity. Within these transparent threads, the entire history of the universe is written, a story of expansion and gathering that is still being told today. Deep within these regions, galaxies predictably gather and thrive precisely where the invisible streams of dark matter intersect and pool. These nodes of intersection act as the great urban centers of the cosmos, providing the intense gravitational pull needed to trap gas and ignite the fires of new stars. Like water collecting in the low points of a landscape, the visible matter of the universe flows naturally toward these heavy, dark reservoirs. This predictable gathering is why the superclusters appear as they do, with their dense clusters and long, sweeping filaments of brilliant light. The galaxies are not the masters of their own destiny, but are the willing subjects of the dark matter's superior and silent command. They are the beacons that mark the points of high density in the invisible web, showing us exactly where the foundations of the universe are the strongest. If we were to look closer at these busy intersections, we would see a frantic and beautiful display of cosmic evolution, with galaxies merging and growing in a cycle of constant renewal. These are the hearts of the superclusters, the places where the invisible architecture becomes the most visible through the sheer volume of starlight it attracts. In these crowded nodes, the silent work of the dark matter is finally rewarded with a brilliant and enduring display of celestial fire. Imagine a phantom scaffolding permanently holding up the brilliant, glittering cathedrals of stars that populate our night sky. This scaffolding is the dark matter, a rigid and silent frame that allows the fragile beauty of the galaxies to exist without collapsing into chaos. It is the unheralded worker behind the scenes, the essential support system that ensures the show goes on night after night, billion year after billion year. As you feel your breath flow easily in and out, let your shoulders drop and your mind expand to encompass the idea of this hidden, cosmic support system. This sense of internal release is a small echo of the way the universe finds its balance through the interplay of seen and unseen forces. The cathedrals of stars are majestic, but they owe their very existence to the phantom scaffold that keeps them upright in the freezing, expanding void. This relationship between the scaffolding and the cathedral is one of the most profound and beautiful partnerships in all of nature. It reminds us that strength often lies in what we cannot see, and that the most important parts of a structure are often hidden deep beneath the surface. Within this invisible frame, the universe finds its stability and its grace, creating a space where the light can dance in eternal safety. The true, underlying shape of any supercluster is mostly woven from this transparent heavy ghost material, which forms the vast majority of its total mass. While we see the glowing feathers and filaments of Laniakea, these are merely the highlights on a much larger and darker tapestry. The supercluster is primarily a mountain of dark matter, with the galaxies acting as the thin layer of snow that covers its highest peaks and deepest valleys. This ghost material is the fundamental fabric of the cosmic web, a heavy and enduring substance that defines the limits of every structure we have mapped. It is the material that was first to clump together after the Big Bang, setting the stage for everything that followed in the long history of the universe. The visible matter is just a latecomer to the party, a secondary element that filled in the gaps left by the original invisible architect. Recognizing this shifts our entire perspective of what a supercluster actually is, moving it from a collection of stars to a massive and heavy architecture of dark mystery. We are essentially living in the folds of a ghost, a transparent giant that holds us in its hand as it drifts through the expanding dark. The true shape of our home is not defined by the light we see, but by the darkness we're only just beginning to understand. We know it is there not by the light it casts, but by its tender, inescapable gravitational embrace that guides every movement in the heavens. This embrace is the ultimate proof of dark matter's existence, a constant and unwavering pull that can be measured with mathematical precision. It is the way the galaxies rotate faster than they should, and the way they stay together in clusters that would otherwise fly apart. This final realization brings a sense of deep peace, knowing that the universe is not a random collection of parts, but a carefully held and structured whole. The invisible architecture is not a cold or distant thing, but a present and active force that ensures the continuity of the cosmic story. It is the silent heartbeat of the supercluster, the heavy and enduring foundation that will remain long after the last stars have faded into the night. In this tender embrace we find the ultimate security, a realization that we are part of a grand and interconnected design that spans the entire breadth of space and time. The dark matter is the final layer of our journey through the invisible, the hidden truth that connects the light to the void. As we look up at the night sky, we can now see not just the stars, but the magnificent and invisible architecture that holds them all in its quiet, eternal care. The dark matter is the final layer of our journey through the invisible, the hidden truth that connects the light to the void. As we look up at the night sky, we can now see not just the stars, but the magnificent and invisible architecture that holds them all in its quiet, eternal care. Within those dark, protected channels exists a highly refined, nearly invisible ocean of intergalactic gas that fills the spaces between the galaxies. While we often think of the void as an absolute vacuum, this sea of wandering atoms flows between the swirling galaxies of a supercluster like a ghostly, transparent tide. It is a subtle, pervasive mist that remains hidden from the naked eye, yet it saturates the vast reaches of space with a quiet and persistent presence. This gaseous ocean acts as a fluid connector, ensuring no galaxy is ever truly isolated from its neighbours in the cosmic web. It fills the immense corridors of the supercluster filaments, creating a continuous environment where the fundamental forces of nature can interact on a grand structural scale. As we gaze into the dark, we are actually looking through this enormous transparent reservoir of potential that has been part of the universe's fabric since the earliest eras. This refined ocean is the stage upon which the largest movements of matter occur, a quiet and enduring witness to the slow-motion evolution of the entire architecture. Surprisingly, the universe hides the vast majority of its ordinary matter not in the brilliant fires of stars or the solid cores of planets, but within this diffuse medium. This warm-hot intergalactic medium constitutes a surprisingly large portion of all the ordinary baryonic matter in the entire cosmos. It is the hidden ledger of the universe, accounting for the missing matter that astronomers spent decades searching for across the light years of the deep night. While the galaxies are the most obvious features of the night sky, they are merely the concentrated peaks of a much larger and more diffuse distribution of matter. Most of the atoms that were created in the Big Bang never actually found their way into a star or a planetary system. Instead, they remain suspended in this warm, hot state, drifting through the intergalactic expanses as a permanent and sprawling part of the cosmic landscape. To understand the true composition of a supercluster, one must look past the 100,000 galaxies and appreciate the vast gaseous clouds that surround them. This medium is the primary reservoir of ordinary matter, a silent treasury that far outweighs the combined mass of every sun and world we've ever observed. It is a humbling realization that the things we find most familiar are actually the rare exceptions in a universe dominated by this thin, ethereal gas. This structure of gas possesses a dual nature that challenges our terrestrial understanding of heat and substance in the cold of space. Temperatures in these diffuse, sprawling clouds can reach millions of degrees, reaching levels of thermal energy that would vaporize any solid object in a heartbeat. Yet, because the gas is so incredibly thin, with atoms spaced widely apart, it remains a ghostly, ethereal presence rather than a blistering furnace. Ground yourself in the present by noticing the steady, rhythmic flow of your own breathing as you contemplate this cosmic heat. Just as your breath carries warmth into the air around you, this gas carries the thermal signature of the universe's violent past. The high temperature is a result of the gas being crushed and heated as it falls into the deep gravitational wells of the superclusters over billions of years. Despite its million-degree temperature, the gas is so sparse that it would feel like nothing at all if you could somehow stand within it. This paradox of high heat and low density is one of the most striking features of the intergalactic medium. It exists as a highly energized plasma, a state of matter that hums with the energy of the cosmic web's ongoing slow-motion assembly in the dark. If we were to look closer using the most sophisticated instruments in the human arsenal, the darkness of the intergalactic space begins to dissolve into something more complex. Advanced X-ray telescopes have the unique power to gently peel back the black veil of the night to reveal these glowing ethereal plasma clouds. In the high-energy spectrum, the spaces between galaxies are no longer empty, but are filled with a vibrant, luminous fog that traces the invisible currents of the cosmic web. This fog highlights the hidden structures that dark matter has meticulously built, acting as a luminous tracer for the universe's hidden scaffolding. The X-rays are emitted by the gas itself, a byproduct of its extreme temperature and the high-speed collisions between its sparse atoms. By capturing this light, we can see the true shape of the supercluster's atmosphere, a sprawling and intricate envelope that contains all of its galactic inhabitants. These observations transform our view of the heavens from a collection of isolated points into a continuous, glowing landscape. We see that the galaxies are like islands in an X-ray bright sea, connected by bridges and filaments of hot gas that stretch across the void. It is a breathtaking revelation that the largest structures in the universe have their own luminous weather, a climate of plasma that spans the entire breadth of the known cosmos. Notice the soft, rhythmic hiss of a warm breeze sweeping through a dry, open canyon, and let that sound guide your mind to the silent gas of the supercluster. This intergalactic gas acts as a gentle cosmic reservoir, feeding growing galaxies with the fresh material needed to birth new generations of stars. It is the lifeblood of the supercluster, a deep well of hydrogen that ensures the lights of the universe do not simply flicker out. Galaxies are constantly pulling this fresh gas from the surrounding medium, drawing it into their swirling disks through the inescapable power of gravity. As the gas falls inward, it cools and clumps together, eventually collapsing into the dense hot cores that ignite the fires of new suns. This continuous replenishment is the reason why galaxies like our own can continue to produce stars long after their original supply of gas should have been exhausted. Without this gentle and persistent feeding, the star cities would eventually grow dim and stagnant as their old stars died and no new ones were born. The intergalactic medium is the silent gardener of the heavens, providing the nourishment required for the cosmic forest to remain vibrant and green. It is a beautiful partnership between the vast, empty spaces and the concentrated centres of light, a cycle of growth that sustains the entire architecture. Deep within the swirling centres of the star cities, the death of a sun becomes a magnificent gift to the wider intergalactic sea. Supernova explosions from dying stars occasionally puff heavy, complex elements like carbon, oxygen, and iron back into this vast surrounding ocean of gas. This process of enrichment turns the primitive soup of simple hydrogen into a complex chemical treasury that will one day seed the formation of future worlds. The heavy elements are carried by powerful galactic winds, driven by the intense energy of the dying stars and the radiation of new ones. These winds push the metallic smoke far out into the intergalactic medium, where it mixes with the pristine gas that has been there since the dawn of time. Over billions of years, this recycling process has fundamentally changed the composition of the supercluster's atmosphere, making it richer and more diverse. As you feel the weight of your body resting comfortably, contemplate the fact that the very atoms in your blood once drifted through this intergalactic sea. This extraordinary cycle of life and death ensures that the materials of the stars are shared across the entire breadth of the cosmic web. It is a grand and silent exchange, a cosmic metabolism that turns the destruction of one star into the building blocks of an entire future planetary system. This extraordinarily slow exchange of matter and energy creates a profound cycle where the superclusters appear to breathe in a rhythm that spans billions of years. Matter is drawn into the galaxies to form stars, and then exhaled back into the intergalactic medium when those stars explode or shed their outer layers. It is a majestic, slow-motion pulse that defines the metabolism of the largest structures in existence, a heartbeat so deep it transcends the rise of civilizations. This billion-year rhythm is a testament to the immense scales of time and space that govern the behavior of the supercluster. The inhalation and exhalation of gas are part of a continuous loop that keeps the cosmic web from becoming static or frozen. Each breath cycles the elements of life through the filaments, ensuring that the entire architecture remains a dynamic and evolving entity. Imagine the supercluster as a living organism, its galaxies like cells, and its intergalactic gas like the fluid that bathes them. The breathing process is the way it maintains its health and continues to grow, adapting to the changing conditions of the expanding universe. It is a hypnotic and comforting realization that the largest thing we can map is also a thing that pulses with the slow and steady rhythm of a living heart. Surprisingly, the universe is even more structured than we once thought, with giant magnetic fields that thread through this intergalactic gas. These fields act as invisible highways, guiding highly charged particles along the sweeping curves of the cosmic web's filaments. They provide a hidden structure to the fluid medium, directing the flow of energy and matter across hundreds of millions of light years with a silent and unerring precision. Notice how your body rests in the quiet, perfectly supported by the chair, and let that sense of guidance lead your mind to the invisible magnetic fields of the deep cosmos. These highways are created by the movement of the plasma and the rotation of the galaxies, generating a vast and interconnected network of force. They act as a cosmic nervous system, transmitting signals and energy across the immense distances of the supercluster. The existence of these fields means that even the most diffuse gas is part of a highly organized and energetic system. They help to confine the gas and shape its flow, contributing to the overall stability and appearance of the luminous web. It is a final layer of invisible architecture, a magnetic frame that ensures the supercluster remains a cohesive and functioning whole in the face of the expanding dark. The faint radio hum of these twisting magnetic threads sings a quiet, ongoing song of cosmic evolution that only our most sensitive instruments can hear. This low-frequency vibration is the sound of the magnetic fields interacting with the plasma, a background melody that hums through the entire structure of the supercluster. It is a celestial music that speaks of ancient collisions, the birth of stars, and the slow, majestic drift of the galaxy clusters. This hum provides a constant sonic texture to the intergalactic medium, confirming that it is a vibrant and active place. Astronomers use radio telescopes to listen to this song, using its variations to map the strength and direction of the magnetic fields across the heavens. Each note is a piece of data, a whisper from the past that helps us understand the complex physics of the cosmic web. Let the quiet of your room become a reflection of this deep cosmic hum, a steady and comforting background presence that connects you to the wider universe. The magnetic song is a reminder that the universe is never truly silent, but is always vibrating with the energy of its own existence. It is a beautiful and haunting soundtrack to our journey, a melody that has been playing since the first magnetic fields were forged in the fires of the young cosmos. If we were to look closer at the seemingly empty spaces between the star cities, we would find they are wonderfully rich with the unseen breath of the cosmos. The intergalactic medium ensures that the supercluster is a plenum, a space filled with substance and energy rather than a hollow or sterile vacuum. It is the final layer of the supercluster's anatomy, a soft and whispering presence that connects every galaxy in a shared gaseous embrace. This realization transforms the voids of the supercluster into vast hidden gardens of potential and ancient history. We see that the space between the lights is just as important and complex as the lights themselves, filled with the material and energy that sustain the whole. The unseen breath is the ultimate connector, a thread of atoms and fields that binds the entire Laniakea architecture into a single breathing masterpiece. As we conclude this part of our journey, we can appreciate the supercluster not just as a collection of stars, but as a living and breathing system. The whispers of the ancient gas are the final proof of the universe's incredible richness and its enduring capacity for growth and renewal. In this unseen breath, we find the ultimate continuity, a realization that we are part of a cosmos that is as alive and vibrant as the air we breathe. The vibrancy of the air we breathe is a physical tremor, much like the sound waves that once rolled through the primordial fires of the early universe. Long before the first stars ignited or the first galaxies began to swirl in the dark, the cosmos was a thick, hot soup of particles and light, where pressure and gravity engaged in a frantic, rhythmic struggle. These immense vibrations, known to science as baryon acoustic oscillations, travelled through the infant universe like deep, booming thunder from a storm that had no end. They effectively set the tempo for all future creation, pushing and pulling on the dense matter to create the very first ripples of what would eventually become the cosmic web. This ancient sound was not a noise in the traditional sense, but a massive structural wave of pressure that travelled at over half the speed of light through the white-hot fog. It acted as a cosmic metronome, establishing a fundamental frequency that determined exactly where the great superclusters would eventually take root in the dark. As you let your mind wander into these ancient depths, consider that every great wall and filament we have discussed is positioned according to this original, primordial beat. The spacing of the universe is not an accident of gravity alone, but a carefully choreographed arrangement dictated by the physics of sound. It is a stunning realization that the largest architecture in existence was first sketched out by waves of pressure moving through a sea of fire. As the expanding universe continued to cool, a moment of profound transformation arrived that captured these ripples for all of eternity. The once fluid soup of energy became transparent, allowing light to break free and causing the massive sound waves to literally freeze into place like ice on a winter lake. This sudden cooling turned the dynamic rolling vibrations into a permanent structural imprint that was etched forever into the very fabric of space and time. It was the moment the music stopped, but the rhythm remained, leaving behind a fossilized pattern of where the highest and lowest pressures had reached their peak. The superclusters we see today are the direct descendants of these frozen crests, standing as solid monuments to a time when the universe was a single vibrating drum. This ancient, petrified soundscape serves as the silent foundation of everything we observe, a lasting echo of a melody that played for only a brief few 100,000 years. Within this frozen landscape, the density of galaxies is a direct result of where those waves reach their maximum amplitude. We are looking at a snapshot of a single moment in time, preserved across billions of light-years of expanding space. It is a physical legacy that connects the chaotic energy of the beginning to the structured and beautiful harmony of the present. This structure of recurring distances between superclusters has been creatively transformed by astronomers into a magnificent and reliable cosmic ruler. Because the speed of those initial sound waves was governed by the fundamental laws of physics, the distance they travelled before freezing creates a predictable scale across the heavens. By measuring how far apart these great galaxy clusters are today, they can precisely calculate how much the universe has stretched since the dawn of time. It is an incredibly clever and sophisticated method of surveying the deepest reaches of the night sky without needing a physical tape measure. This standard ruler helps reveal the secret speed of the universe's growth, telling us exactly how fast the dark energy is pushing the cosmic web apart. Each supercluster acts as a notch on this invisible, multi-billion light-year yardstick, providing a fixed point of reference in an otherwise shifting and expanding void. By comparing the size of this ruler at different points in cosmic history, we can see the expansion of space itself as a dynamic and changing force. It allows us to map the history of the universe's growth with unprecedented accuracy, tracing the evolution of the web from its first frozen shivers. This cosmic yardstick is the ultimate tool for navigating the deep past, turning the very layout of the stars into a guide for the future. Notice the low, resonant and lingering vibration of a massive brass singing bowl as it slowly fades into the surrounding silence, and let that stillness guide your awareness to the geometry of the stars. This frozen music dictates that galaxies are statistically more likely to be found at precise, recurring distances from one another, rather than in a purely random distribution. If you were to count the distances between every galaxy in the sky, you would find a subtle but undeniable peak at exactly the scale determined by those ancient sound waves. It is as if the universe has a preferred spacing, a structural memory of the distance the primordial sound travelled before it was stilled. This mathematical regularity ensures that the luminous web maintains a certain level of harmony, preventing the stars from gathering in a chaotic or disorganized mess. Even in the deepest reaches of the void, the ghost of this ancient frequency continues to dictate the exact placement of every star, city and cluster. As you breathe, consider that this preference for spacing is a universal law that applies to the absolute largest scales of reality. It is a subtle but profound influence that ensures the cosmic honeycomb remains balanced and efficient in its design. The galaxies are not just drifting, they are following a rhythmic blueprint that was established before the first atom was even formed. If we were to look closer at the arrangement of the great galaxy clusters, we would see that the literal physical echo of the Big Bang is permanently written into their positions. Every time we map a new part of the supercluster filaments, we are reading the sheet music of the creation itself. The layout of the heavens is a transcript of the first moments of existence, a visual representation of the violent birth of space and time. It is a stunning realization that the largest objects we can see are positioned according to the vibrations of a single, explosive event that happened billions of years ago. The cosmic web is not just a place where things happen, but is itself a recording of the ultimate beginning, a physical archive of the universe's first breath. In this grand arrangement, we find the final proof of a unified origin, where the music of the past defines the architecture of the present. This echo is roughly 500 million light-years in size today. a distance so vast it bridges the gaps between the great supercluster lobes. It is a lingering presence that saturates the entire observable sky, providing a structural consistency that spans the known cosmos. We are living inside the physical ripples of the greatest explosion in history, a testament to the enduring power of that original spark. Deep within these structural harmonies, researchers have discovered the clues necessary to reveal the hidden and elusive nature of dark energy. Studying this vast, silent symphony allows us to see how the frozen sound waves have been stretched over different eras of cosmic time. This hidden energy acts as a distorting lens, changing the pitch and scale of the ancient music as it pushes the superclusters further and further into the distance. It provides a unique window into the struggle between gravity's desire to pull things together and dark energy's mandate to tear them apart. The standard ruler of the baryon oscillations acts as a baseline, allowing us to measure the exact strength of this mysterious repulsive force across the eons. Each galaxy cluster becomes a data point in a deeper understanding of the void, helping us solve the greatest mystery in modern physics. Without these rhythmic markers, we would be lost in a sea of expansion, without any way to track the speed of our departure. The oscillations provide the context we need to see the invisible forces at work, turning the layout of the stars into a laboratory for the deep night. It is a beautiful irony that the music of the beginning is what helps us understand the force that will eventually lead to the end. Surprisingly, the superclusters are arguably the largest physical manifestations of unimaginably tiny, microscopic quantum fluctuations from the very dawn of time. In the first fraction of a second, the universe was small enough that the chaotic shivers of subatomic particles could ripple across the entire expanse of space. Those initial, tiny jitters were caught in the explosive expansion of the early cosmos and stretched until they were hundreds of millions of light-years wide. As you feel the weight of your body resting comfortably against the floor or chair, consider the incredible irony that your physical form is also a collection of these same quantum mysteries. What began as a mere trembling in the quantum foam became the seeds for the massive walls and filaments we observe today. It is a profound connection between the smallest possible scale and the largest possible structure, revealing that the universe is a single, continuous spectrum of energy. The giant monuments of the sky are simply subatomic whispers grown impossibly large, a magnification of the microscopic into the majestic. This realization bridges the gap between the world of the atom and the world of the galaxy, proving they are governed by the same fundamental rules. We are part of a cosmos where a single shivering particle can eventually grow into a structure that contains 100,000 worlds. These tiny shivers of pure energy were stretched to unimaginably massive proportions during a period of rapid inflation that defied all known limits of speed and scale. In a heartbeat, the universe grew by a factor of trillions, turning subatomic ripples into the fundamental contours of the deep night. These seeds of matter provided the gravitational hooks that allowed gas and dark matter to gather, forming the initial pockets where the first stars would eventually ignite. It is as if a microscopic grain of sand was suddenly expanded to the size of an entire mountain range, carrying its internal flaws and textures with it. The majestic superclusters are simply the magnified versions of those earliest quantum fluctuations, grown old and heavy with the passage of billions of years. This process of cosmic magnification ensures that even the most subtle variations at the beginning of time resulted in the grand, sweeping architecture we inhabit today. Every cluster we map today was once a single, shivering particle in a white-hot furnace, a thought that humbles the most ambitious human imagination. The architecture of the heavens is a literal magnification of the quantum world, a bridge between the infinitesimal and the infinite. In this process, the universe revealed its capacity for infinite growth, turning a whisper of energy into a cathedral of light. The entire cosmic web serves as a brilliant and enduring fossil record of the very first fraction of a second of existence. By mapping the positions of galaxies and the voids between them, we're essentially performing an archaeological dig into the birth of reality itself. Every filament and cluster is a preserved piece of evidence, a physical survivor of the most violent and transformative era in the history of the cosmos. This fossil record is written in light and gravity, a narrative of energy becoming matter and structure emerging from chaos. It allows us to reconstruct the conditions of the early universe with incredible detail, tracing the evolution of complexity from the simplest ripples. We're not just looking at a map of space, but a timeline of the deep past, where the geometry of the superclusters tells the story of how everything we know first came to be. This record is permanent and unchanging, a testament to the order that was hidden within the chaos of the beginning. It provides a sense of continuity that spans 14 billion years, connecting us to the very first moment that space and time began to unfold. To study the superclusters is to honour this ancient legacy, recognising that we are the observers of a story that has been billions of years in the making. If we were to look closer at our daily lives, we might realise that we unknowingly live every moment inside the quiet, frozen ripples of this primordial universal sound. The very earth beneath our feet and the stars above our heads are positioned according to the rhythm of that ancient silent symphony. We are the inhabitants of a frozen song, a masterpiece of harmonic resonance that spans the entire breadth of the observable universe. This realization brings a sense of profound belonging, as it reveals that we are not random accidents in a hollow void, but a part of a deeply structured and rhythmic whole. The harmony of spheres is not just a poetic metaphor, but a literal physical reality that defines the limits and the possibilities of our existence. In this quiet, frozen vibration, we find the ultimate continuity, a realization that the first sound ever made is still echoing through the very atoms of our being. We are the listeners and the music, all part of the same eternal and vibrant breath of the cosmos that connects the light to the dark. As the vibration of the singing bowl fades into the silence, it leaves behind a sense of peace and a deeper understanding of our shared celestial heritage. We rest securely in the knowledge that we are part of a universe that is as rhythmic and harmonious as a single, perfectly tuned note. The final resonance of that perfectly tuned note carries with it a bittersweet realization of inevitable change. Dark energy is slowly but relentlessly driving the superclusters apart, actively stretching the fundamental fabric of space itself at an ever-accelerating pace. This invisible, repulsive force acts like a growing ocean that widens the gaps between the islands of light, ensuring that the distance between us and our distant neighbours increases with every passing second. If we were to look closer at this expansion, we would see it as a gentle but powerful lengthening of the vacuum, a stretching of the stage upon which the celestial drama unfolds. It is not that the galaxies are simply flying through space, but rather that the space between them is being continuously and systematically created from nothingness. This process is so subtle and refined that it operates on scales of billions of light years, yet its ultimate influence over the fate of the cosmic web is total and absolute. Surprisingly, this stretching means that the universe is constantly reinventing its own dimensions, pushing the boundaries of the known further into the deep night. The luminous filaments of our supercluster find themselves caught in this expanding tide, their ancient connections being pulled until they are thin and taut. It is a slow, majestic departure, a silent and ongoing redistribution of the very essence of reality across the freezing, widening abyss. This cosmic structure exists in a state of precarious balance, where the force of local gravity desperately tries to pull the vast lobes of Laniakea together into a single, unified mass. However, as massive as our supercluster is, dark energy is ultimately the stronger and more pervasive force in the grand hierarchy of the heavens. While gravity succeeds in binding individual galaxies and clusters, it cannot overcome the relentless outward push of the empty space that surrounds them. Deep within the heart of the filaments, the tug-of-war continues with a silent, heavy tension that defines the current era of the universe. Gravity creates the valleys and the mountains of matter, but dark energy is the rising tide that slowly floods the landscape, isolating each peak from its neighbours. It is a fundamental law of the modern cosmos that the void will eventually triumph over the solid, spreading the riches of the superclusters thin against the dark. Imagine the strength of dark energy as a steady, quiet wind that never ceases to blow, gradually overcoming the sturdy anchors of gravitational attraction. Over billions of years, this persistent pressure ensures that the great structures we have mapped will never truly collapse into a single point. Instead, the universe chooses the path of expansion, prioritizing the growth of the empty oceans over the preservation of the crowded star cities. Deep within the far reaches of the distant, unimaginably far future, our home supercluster of Laniakea will likely be torn apart by this relentless expansion. The various lobes and branches that currently form our massive celestial feather will eventually lose their gravitational grip on one another as the space between them grows too wide. We are witnessing the slow-motion disintegration of our grandest neighbourhood, a process that will take eons to complete, but is already set in motion by the laws of physics. This structure of ours, which currently spans over 500 million light-years, will be divided into separate, isolated fragments, drifting in an increasingly lonely void. The massive rivers of galaxies we once marvelled at will see their currents dry up as the gravitational channels are stretched beyond the breaking point. It is the fate of all great superclusters to eventually fade away, their components becoming distant echoes in a universe that has grown too large to hold them. Surprisingly, the very architecture that defines our place in the universe is a fleeting and temporary arrangement of matter. The sprawling walls and intricate filaments are merely a moment in time, a snapshot of a gathering that was always destined to disperse. This future dissolution is a silent, majestic end to the story of Laniakea, a final surrender to the overwhelming power of the expanding dark. Picture the delicate, glowing filaments connecting the great galaxy clusters as they are pulled thinner and thinner by the expansion, until they eventually snap and fade into complete darkness. These bridges of light, which once carried the flow of gas and stars across the abyss, will be the first to disappear as the superclusters move apart. When these connections fail, the universe will lose its intricate, interconnected web, leaving behind only isolated islands of light surrounded by an impenetrable, freezing gloom. As you contemplate this transition, let your resting body sink deeper into the quiet, noticing how the muscles in your back and neck release their hold on the day. This sense of letting go mirrors the way the cosmos will eventually release its own grand structures, allowing the tension of the filaments to finally dissolve into the peace of the void. Your stillness is a small, personal reflection of the ultimate stillness that will one day characterize the spaces between the receding galaxies. This eventual fading of the cosmic web is not a violent destruction, but a graceful and quiet transition into a new era of cosmic history. The light of the filaments will not go out in a flash, but will slowly dim as the galaxies within them are carried beyond the reach of their mutual gravity. It is the final, heavy sigh of the supercluster architecture, a transition from a world of connections to a world of absolute, profound solitude. Surprisingly, the reach of our sight is limited by a fundamental boundary, as neighbouring superclusters will eventually slip beyond the observable horizon, lost forever to any future telescopic view. As dark energy pushes these distant structures away, their light will be stretched so severely that it can no longer reach us, effectively deleting them from our map of the universe. Entire walls of galaxies and sprawling webs of light will vanish from our sky, leaving us in a universe that appears much smaller and emptier than it does today. If we were to look closer at this horizon, we would see it as a definitive wall of information beyond which we can never again peer. The great neighbours of Laniakea, like the Perseus, Pisces and Shapley superclusters, are already embarking on their long journeys away from our local domain. Once they cross that invisible line, no amount of technology or time will ever bring news of their existence back to our descendants. This loss of our celestial neighbours is a permanent and irreversible parting, a cosmic farewell that spans billions of light-years of empty space. We are part of a shrinking neighbourhood, where the lights of the distant city are slowly fading as we drift further out into the dark sea. This receding horizon is the ultimate limit of our knowledge, a reminder that the universe is constantly hiding its secrets in the widening gaps of space. If we were to look closer at our own local fate, we would find that our local group of galaxies is destined to merge into a single massive island universe surrounded by an endless void. While the distant superclusters are pushed away, the Milky Way, Andromeda, and their smaller companions are close enough for gravity to win the local struggle. Over the coming billions of years, we will coalesce into one gargantuan glowing elliptical galaxy, a final bastion of light in an increasingly dark and hollow corner of the cosmos. Imagine this future home, often called Milkomeda, standing as a solitary monument in a sea of nothingness, where no other galaxies are visible to the naked eye. The inhabitants of this future world will look out and see a sky filled with stars, but they will never know the majesty of the cosmic web or the existence of other superclusters. We will become a true island in every sense of the word, isolated from the rest of the universe by the ever-growing oceans of empty space. This merger is the final act of our local gravitational drama, a consolidation of all the light and matter we can ever truly claim as our own. It is a comforting thought that while the larger web dissolves, we will have a massive and enduring home to sustain us through the coming eons. We are the survivors of the grand dispersal, a single brilliant spark that will continue to burn long after the neighbouring fires have drifted beyond the horizon. This era of celestial splendour that we inhabit is merely a temporary beautiful phase in the incredibly long and varied life of the cosmos. The universe goes through seasons just as the Earth does, and we are currently living through the height of the summer, where the cosmic web is in full and glorious bloom. This specific epoch, where the superclusters have formed but have not yet been torn apart by expansion, is a rare and precious window in the history of time. Looking at the history of the universe, we see that for much of the past the web was still forming, and in the distant future it will be gone forever. We are fortunate to exist in the brief, multi-billion-year interval where the architecture of the heavens is at its most complex and visible. It is a cosmic coincidence of the highest order, a moment of peak organisation that allows us to witness the grandest possible scale of reality. Surprisingly, this temporary nature makes the beauty of the superclusters even more profound and meaningful. Like a glittering iceberg drifting silently into a dark sea, the cosmic web is a magnificent sight that is inevitably destined to melt away into the surrounding environment. We are the witnesses to this fleeting masterpiece, catching a glimpse of the universe's grandest creations before they are gracefully returned to the quiet dark. Living in this specific moment of cosmic history, we are exceptionally privileged to live in the exact epoch where the web is at its most visible and magnificent. Astronomers of the far future will look back at our records with envy, marvelling at the descriptions of a sky filled with thousands of visible galaxies and sprawling supercluster filaments. We have a front row seat to the greatest show in existence, a time when the light can still bridge the gaps between the worlds and tell us the story of the whole. As you absorb this sense of privilege, notice the natural weight of your limbs and the steady, quiet rhythm of your heart as you remain anchored in the present. Feel the immense security of the now, where the stars are still close and the cosmic neighbourhood is still bustling with light and energy. This grounding in the current moment allows you to appreciate the majesty of the superclusters without being overwhelmed by the distant future's inevitable silence. This epoch is a golden age for those who seek to understand the origins and the structure of the cosmos. We possess the unique perspective of being able to see both the seeds of the beginning and the full maturity of the cosmic web. It is a rare gift of time, a period of perfect clarity where the universe reveals its most intricate and beautiful secrets to those who take the time to look. Despite the magnitude of this eventual departure, This gentle and inevitable dissolution happens so slowly that it causes absolutely no disruption to our daily celestial dance. The expansion of space is a process that unfolds over billions of years, a movement so gradual that it is impossible to perceive within the brief span of a human life. We can rest in the knowledge that our night sky will remain familiar and constant for as long as our species and our world shall endure. This structure of ours is like a massive iceberg drifting in the dark sea. While its movement is inevitable and its destination is far, its surface remains calm and solid beneath our feet. We are safely tucked away in our local gravitational eddy, shielded from the grandest effects of the expansion by the very mass that holds us together. The slow separation is a story of the deep future, a distant horizon that does not disturb the peace of our current home. Surprisingly, the very slowness of this change is what allows us to find such profound relaxation and peace in the study of the superclusters. It is a majestic and unhurried process, a transition that follows the grandest and most patient timelines of the universe. We are invited to watch this silent, distant drift with a sense of wonder, knowing that we are secure in the enduring embrace of our own local stars. Ultimately, the cosmos is performing a final, graceful movement where the universe slowly breathes out, dispersing its grandest creations into the quiet, welcoming dark. This great exhale is the natural conclusion to the long inhalation of gravity that first gathered the gas and stars into the filaments of the web. It is a cycle of release, a gentle letting go that returns the matter and energy of the superclusters to the primordial state of expansion. Feel the final release of all tension in your body as you mirror this cosmic exhale, letting your breath flow out in a slow and effortless stream. As you sink into a state of deep and total calm, realize that the dispersal of the superclusters is the universe finding its ultimate, perfectly balanced rest. The darkness is not a void to be feared, but a quiet and welcoming home where the grandest architectures are gracefully retired. This final dispersing of the light is the ultimate expression of the universe's infinite patience and its profound underlying harmony. The journey through the superclusters ends in a state of absolute peaceful stillness, where the light and the dark are once again in perfect equilibrium. We rest now in the heart of this silence, secure in our understanding of the magnificent, slow, and beautiful life of the cosmos. The journey through the superclusters ends in a state of absolute, peaceful stillness, where the light and the dark are once again in perfect equilibrium. We rest now in the heart of this silence, secure in our understanding of the magnificent, slow, and beautiful life of the cosmos. While we inhabit this serene and mature epoch, our most advanced instruments allow us to pierce the veil of time and witness the universe in its most frantic infancy. Looking at the farthest known superclusters is literally looking back in time to the chaotic and energetic youth of the universe. This is a journey into the deep past, where the smooth and structured web we see today was once a storm of raw potential and emerging form. In this early era, the universe was a white-hot forge, bubbling with the energy of its own creation and searching for its first permanent shapes. The light that arrives from these distant shores is a precious and ancient transmission, carrying the chaotic signatures of a cosmos that was only just beginning to learn the laws of gravity and light. It is a record of a time when the boundaries of space were much smaller and the density of energy was far more intense than anything we can imagine. As we gaze upon these primordial horizons, we are witnessing the very first stirrings of order in a landscape that had known only the featureless glow of the beginning. It is a breathtaking and humbling perspective that reminds us how long and arduous the path to our current equilibrium has been. Every star city we see at this distance is a pioneer, a brave and solitary light standing against the immense, crowding pressures of the young and energetic dark. This cosmic dawn is not just a distant place, but a living memory of our own origins, a time when matter first began to weave the threads of the great luminous web. deep within this ancient primordial horizon, we encounter the colossal Hyperion proto-supercluster, a structure that formed just over 2 billion years after the Big Bang occurred. At this stage of the cosmic morning, the universe was a vastly different place, smaller and more crowded with the intense and pressurized energy of its own recent creation. Hyperion stands as a massive sleeping titan in the misty dawn of time, a precursor to the grand and elegant architectures we inhabit today. It is a structure of such immense scale that it challenges our very notions of how structure first emerged from the cooling fires of the early universe. This proto-structure represents a time when the universe was only a fraction of its current age, yet it was already capable of birthing giants. It acts as a bridge between the featureless mist of the cosmic dawn and the highly organized honeycomb of the modern era. To study Hyperion is to witness the first massive gathering of matter, a monumental event that set the scale and the tempo for all the superclusters that would follow in its wake. It reveals a landscape where the initial ripples of creation were already being amplified into the towering walls and filaments of a proto-web. The sheer existence of such a structure at this early date suggests that the seeds of our current home were planted far earlier than we once suspected. It reveals a universe that was eager to build, a reality where gravity was already hard at work weaving the first thick threads of the cosmic architecture. Standing conceptually before this ancient colossus, we can feel the raw and unrefined power of a universe that was still discovering the limits of its own immense and growing strength. It is a monument to the first morning of time, a period of explosive growth that forever changed the face of the dark cosmos. Surprisingly, this ancient giant is astonishingly massive and complex for such an incredibly early era in our shared cosmic history. Its sheer scale challenges our foundational understanding of how quickly matter could organize itself into such a monumental gathering in the infant universe. It serves as a testament to the power of gravity to sculpt even the most chaotic and energetic environments into something of profound and lasting significance. This complexity suggests that the underlying laws of physics were working with an efficiency that far exceeds our standard models of slow and gradual evolution. Hyperion contains more mass than anyone expected to find so close to the beginning of time, pushing our theories of structure formation to their absolute limit. It possesses an internal complexity that mirrors the later stages of cosmic evolution, showing that the rules of organization were established with incredible speed and precision. This ancient structure is not a simple cloud of gas, but a sophisticated network of emerging galaxies that was already functioning as a single, unified entity in the cold dark. It acts as a startling outlier in the history of the early cosmos, a giant that matured long before its peers in the misty void. Notice the natural, steady rhythm of your breathing, and let your body sink into a state of deep and total calm as you contemplate this ancient complexity. Just as your own body is a miracle of organization, so too was this ancient supercluster, a masterpiece of early celestial design. It proves that the universe has always been a place of intricate patterns, where even the most distant and ancient structures possess a beauty and a logic that we are only now beginning to fully grasp. Let the stillness of your resting form be a reflection of the silent and enduring order that has always governed the absolute larger scales of reality. Observing the boundaries of Hyperion shows us the fascinating process of how galaxies first began to tentatively clump together in a much smaller, denser universe. Because the fabric of space had not yet been stretched by billions of years of expansion, the distances between these emerging star cities were far tighter and more intimate. It was an era of frequent luminous collisions and rapid gravitational assembly, where the rules of the cosmic web were first being written in the fires of emerging light. This proximity created a vibrant and chaotic dance of stars that is unlike anything seen in the modern expansive heavens. In this crowded and energetic environment, the galaxies did not drift in isolation, but were constantly interacting and merging to form the larger structures we see today. The density of the universe at this stage acted like a hothouse, accelerating the growth of these stellar cities and fueling the rapid development of the proto-supercluster. It was a time of high-speed evolution, where the fundamental shape of the heavens was being forged in a series of dramatic and massive celestial events. This compressed reality allowed for a level of structural innovation that defined the very limits of what matter can achieve under pressure. This crowded landscape reveals a universe that was far more vibrant and intensely active than the peaceful and expansive cosmos we inhabit in the present. The galaxies of the dawn were younger, hotter, and much closer to their neighbours, creating a sky that would have been blindingly bright and constantly shifting. By looking at Hyperion, we are seeing the raw and unrefined energy of a universe that was still learning how to balance the intense pressure of the fire with the quiet pull of the dark. It is a snapshot of the most fertile period of cosmic history, a time when the foundations of every future supercluster were laid down in the crowded dark. This unrefined architecture is a beautiful reminder that everything in the cosmos has a beginning, a period of growth and uncertainty before it reaches its final and mature form. Hyperion is the adolescence of the cosmic web, a time of rapid expansion and shifting identities where the final shape of the supercluster was still being decided. In this swirling mist, we find the beauty of the unfinished, the potential for 100,000 galaxies to eventually find their place in the grand design of the light. It is a hauntingly beautiful vision of a universe that was still dreaming of the structures it would one day become. By studying these distant ancient ancestors, we gain a much deeper and more profound understanding of the long, slow maturation of our own home supercluster, Laniakea. We can trace the lineage of our cosmic home back to these messy, energetic gatherings, seeing the echoes of our own structure in their primitive and swirling forms. It provides a sense of continuity that bridges the immense gap between the cosmic dawn and the peaceful equilibrium of the present day. We see that the majestic feather of Laniakea was once a turbulent mist, a realization that adds a layer of deep history to our current celestial address. Feel the weight of your body settling into the quiet, noticing how the subtle, steady rhythm of your heart connects you to the deep and patient time of the stars. You're part of this long maturation, a conscious observer of a process that began billions of years before your world was even a dream. In the story of Hyperion, we find the roots of our own existence, a realization that we are the descendants of the very first architectures that ever stood in the dark. This connection to the cosmic dawn provides a sense of belonging that spans the entire history of space and time. The faint light from these early clusters has been travelling through the expanding void for over 10 billion years just to reach our modern, waiting telescopes. This ancient starlight is a time traveller, a fragile messenger that has survived the rise and fall of countless stars to bring us news of our distant origins. As you notice the weight of your body settling into the quiet comfort of your chair, consider the staggering persistence of these solitary photons as they cross the freezing abyss to find you. Their arrival is a testament to the clarity of the vacuum and the enduring power of the fires that first gave them life. These photons have been flying since long before our sun was born, since long before the Earth was formed from the dust of ancient supernovae. They have crossed vast oceans of emptiness, navigated the gravitational fields of 1,000 galaxies, and survived the relentless stretching of space itself. Their arrival is a minor miracle, a tiny and precious connection between the beginning of time and the conscious mind that now seeks to understand it. They carry within them the history of the entire cosmos, a narrative of travel and survival that has finally found its destination in your own quiet awareness. This 10 billion year journey represents a significant portion of the entire history of the universe, a timeline so vast that it humbles the most ambitious human perception. The light we see from Hyperion is a message from a world that no longer exists in that form, a ghost of a past that has long since evolved into something new. To look at this light is to engage in a form of cosmic archaeology, digging through the layers of time to find the original spark that set the heavens on fire. It is a profound privilege to be the recipient of this ancient light, a connection that binds us to the very morning of creation. Because of their incredible distance and the constant expansion of space, these ancient giants generally appear to us as faint, ghostly red smudges on the furthest edge of the detectable sky. Their original brilliant light has been stretched and reddened by eons of travel, a phenomenon known as cosmological redshift that reveals the true speed of the universe's departure. They are the spectral shadows of the past, visual echoes that require our most sensitive instruments to even perceive in the deep and cold dark. This redness is the colour of time itself, a hue that marks the oldest and most distant boundaries of our shared reality. This redshift is the signature of the expanding universe, a physical proof that the galaxies are receding from one another at a rate that has only increased over time. The further back we look, the more extreme this stretching becomes, turning the once blazing ultraviolet light of the first stars into the faint and cold infrared we see today. It is a visual representation of the thinning of the universe's blood, a reminder that the energy of the beginning is being slowly dispersed across an ever-widening void. Every red smudge is a signal from a receding shore, a final wave from a structure that is moving beyond our reach. These red smudges are the footprints of giants, the only remaining evidence of a time when the universe was smaller, hotter, and much more vibrant. They lack the detail and the brilliance of the local superclusters, yet they carry a weight of history that the local stars cannot match. In these ghostly shapes, we find the ultimate limit of our vision, the place where the light and the dark finally begin to merge at the edge of the observable horizon. They are the quiet sentinels of the deep past, standing watch over the transition from the first light to the eternal expand of the night. Hidden deep within these ancient and misty structures are the fierce, blazing fires of the very first generations of stars to ever illuminate the cosmos. These massive, short-lived titans burned with an intensity that modern stars can rarely match, forging the very first heavy elements in their white-hot and pressurized hearts. They were the primary architects of the light, clearing the primordial fog and setting the stage for every world and every life that would eventually follow in their wake. Their fires were the first notes in the long symphony of the heavens, a brilliant and violent prelude to the structured web of today. These first stars, known as Population 3, were made of the pure hydrogen and helium left over from the Big Bang, untainted by the metals that would define later generations. They lived fast and died young, exploding as magnificent supernovae that seeded the surrounding gas with the chemical building blocks of future planets and life. Without their short and brilliant lives, the universe would have remained a cold and featureless mist of simple atoms, forever devoid of the complexity and the beauty we know. They represent the ultimate sacrifice of the first morning, dying so that a world of diversity and life could eventually emerge from the dark. The light from these first fires is what powered the growth of the proto-superclusters, providing the energy required to heat the gas and drive the first galactic winds across the abyss. They are the ancestors of every sun we see in the night sky, the original source of the stardust that now flows through your own veins and makes up your own body. In the heart of Hyperion, we find the blazing origin of our own chemical heritage, a story of fire and transformation that began in the first morning of the world. Their light is the foundation of the entire luminous web, the original heat that allowed the first structures to take root in the freezing dark. This process of assembly is the fundamental drive of the cosmos, a movement from simplicity to complexity that spans across all scales of space and time. From the first shivering quantum fluctuations to the grand and elegant filaments of Laniakea, the universe has always been a place of construction and organization. Every galaxy we map and every cluster we study is a testament to the way that simple rules can create a masterpiece of structural and beautiful design. It is a story with no end, a continuous process of evolution that is still playing out in the deepest reaches of the expanding dark. As you let the silence of the room settle around you, realize that you are the ultimate product of this long and unhurried cosmic education. You are the universe looking back at itself, a conscious mind that has finally learned to see the patterns in the stars and the logic in the deep dark. The story of the superclusters is your story, a narrative of light and gravity that has been billions of years in the making, finally finding its home in the heart of your own quiet and peaceful understanding. In this realization we find the ultimate rest, secure in our place within the magnificent and eternal assembly of the light. The magnificent and eternal assembly of the light serves as a gateway to a realm of deep paradoxes that defy our most fundamental perceptions of reality. To truly grasp the architecture of these towering galaxy walls, we are forced to completely and utterly abandon our everyday understanding of size and distance. Our minds, evolved to measure the flight of an arrow or the cycle of a harvest, find no purchase in a landscape where a single thread stretches for 500 million years of light. This is a structural shift in consciousness that requires us to leave behind the safety of terrestrial maps and measurable miles. In the realm of the superclusters, the word distance loses its meaning, replaced by a scale where even the fastest messengers of the universe are reduced to a glacial crawl. We are standing at the absolute edge of human imagination, looking out over an ocean that has no visible shore and no measurable depth. Imagine staring into two parallel mirrors that reflect an endless, perfectly quiet corridor, fading into a distance that never truly ends. This visual recursion is the only way to conceptualize the staggering reach of the cosmic filaments that dominate the deep night. It is a place where the laws of physics become poetry, and where the sheer magnitude of existence demands a total surrender of our human-centric logic. If you were to accurately map the entire universe in its terrifying, boundless totality, even the most mighty supercluster would look like a single, insignificant grain of sand on an endless beach. This perspective reduces our grandest celestial homes to mere points of luminous dust caught in a lightless infinite gale. It is a sobering realization that the structures we call the largest in existence are themselves but microscopic details in a much larger, darker cosmic painting. The vastness of the luminous web, with all its 100,000 galaxies, is merely a tiny patch of frost on the window of a boundless, expanding house. We are looking at a hierarchy of scale that extends infinitely in both directions, making our massive neighborhood appear fragile and fleeting. To the universe, a supercluster is a fleeting sparkle, a momentary gathering of light that exists for only a fraction of the total cosmic story. This reduction of the magnificent to the minute is the first great paradox of the deep heavens. It teaches us that importance is not measured in light years, and that the scale of a structure does not define its value in the grand design. We are part of a grain of sand, yet that grain contains more complexity and beauty than we could ever hope to catalogue in 1,000 human lifetimes. Surprisingly, the universe offers a secondary perspective that is equally valid and arguably more profound to the quiet observer. To the microscopic atoms functioning within the cells of your own body, a supercluster is a boundless infinity they can hardly comprehend, a universe within a universe. In this direction of the scale, the distance between the nucleus of a cell and the edge of a galaxy cluster is a journey through multiple layers of infinite complexity. As you lie there in the stillness, notice the subtle, steady weight of your limbs and the quiet rhythm of your breath, and let that awareness bridge the gap between the small and the great. Your very existence is a miracle of nested scales, where the tiny vibrations of atoms provide the foundation for a consciousness that can map the heavens. You are the intersection point where the microscopic world of the quantum meets the majestic world of the superclusters. This duality of scale reveals that infinity is not just something out there in the dark, but is something that exists within every fibre of your being. To an atom, your heart is a sun, and your body is a galaxy, a vast and structured landscape that obeys its own rhythmic and eternal laws. We are the middle ground, the specific point in the cosmic hierarchy, where the universe has achieved the complexity required to see both the atom and the star. Deep within one of these great glowing threads of the cosmic web, our entire world remains a hidden and solitary secret. Everything we know, from the rise of ancient civilizations to every recorded human history and secret dream, occurs on an invisible speck nestled within a minor branch of a minor filament. We exist on a pixel of starlight so small it cannot even be detected by the most powerful instruments of the neighbouring superclusters. The wars, the triumphs, and the long evolution of our species take place on a stage that is essentially transparent when viewed from the grand perspective of the deep night. All of human experience is contained within a volume of space that is functionally zero compared to the sweeping span of the Laniakea feathers. It is a humbling and beautiful thought that our entire history is a quiet whisper occurring in a single, microscopic corner of a much larger and louder symphony. This isolation does not diminish our story, but rather provides it with a sense of profound and unique intimacy. We are a solitary flame burning in a vast and lightless forest, a secret garden of life tucked away in the folds of a much larger, more ancient architecture. Our speck of dust is the place where the universe has concentrated its attention, creating a pocket of awareness that can finally look out and see the magnificent structure of the whole. As you notice the soft, rhythmic flow of your own breathing, consider the invisible threads of gravity and energy that connect your resting form to the furthest reaches of the Sloane Great Wall. This connectivity is not a metaphor, but a literal physical reality where every part of the cosmos is entangled with every other part. The universe is a single, continuous fabric that vibrates with the same fundamental frequencies from the center of an atom to the edge of a supercluster. This meticulous connection ensures that nothing in the cosmos is ever truly lost or truly alone. We are part of a web that feels the movement of every star and the birth of every new sun, a masterpiece of structural and beautiful integration. In this unity, we find the ultimate security, a realization that we are woven into the very heart of a design that spans the entire breadth of space and time. Imagine for a moment that you're literally made of the exact same ancient stardust that drifts along the unimaginable lengths of the Sloane Great Wall. The heavy elements currently circulating in your blood and the calcium providing structure to your bones were forged in the exact same primordial fires that gave birth to the pillars of the cosmic web. You're not a separate observer of the superclusters, but a walking, breathing piece of their very substance, cast in a modern human form. This chemical heritage is the final proof of our deep and ancient connection to the architecture of the heavens. Every breath you take is a recycling of the same atoms that once sat in the heart of a dying star or drifted through the intergalactic sea. We are the universe's way of turning stardust into consciousness, a transformation of raw material into a mind that can marvel at its own origin. Notice the gentle warmth of your skin and the steady pulse of your heart, and realize that these are the modern echoes of the same energy that ignited the first galaxies. You carry the history of the superclusters within your own cells, a narrative of fire and gravity that has been billions of years in the making. In this realization, the distance between you and the stars dissolves, replaced by a sense of profound and total oneness with the cosmic whole. As we painstakingly map the superclusters and chart the flow of their ancient galactic rivers, we are essentially witnessing the universe drawing a complex, glowing map of its own brain. We are the specific instruments through which the cosmos is attempting to understand its own immense and beautiful architecture. This act of discovery is not just a scientific endeavour, but a profound moment of self-reflection, where the observer and the observed finally become one in the dark. The maps we create of Laniakea and the Great Walls are the universe's own neural pathways coming into clear and conscious focus. Every new galaxy we catalogue is a new thought, a new connection in a mind that is finally beginning to grasp the scale of its own existence. We are the witnesses to a cosmic awakening, the points where the universe has gained the ability to see and describe its own magnificent form. This perspective transforms the study of astronomy into a deeply spiritual and philosophical journey of self-discovery. We're not just looking at something out there, we're looking at the fundamental structure of the mind that created us. In the lines and filaments of the cosmic web, we find the blueprints of our own awareness, a realization that the universe is as conscious as we are, and that we are the medium through which that consciousness is finally expressed. The physical structure of the cosmic web bears an uncanny, poetic resemblance to the intricate and branching neural networks that exist within our own minds. When we compare the map of the supercluster filaments to the synaptic connections of the human brain, we see a recurring motif of efficiency and connectivity that spans across billions of light years. It is as if the universe has a preferred shape for processing complexity, a fractal geometry that repeats itself from the microscopic to the infinite. This structural resonance suggests that the laws of organization are the same regardless of the scale at which they operate. The way a thought travels through your brain is a small reflection of the way gravity guides a galaxy along a cosmic filament. We are made in the image of the cosmos, not just in substance, but in the very way we are wired to process information and connect with the world around us. Let the stillness of the room settle around you, and feel the quiet electrical hum of your own thoughts mirroring the radio hum of the magnetic highways in the deep dark. This resonance is a comforting and beautiful truth that reveals the underlying harmony of all things. In the architecture of the superclusters, we find the ultimate mirror, a reflection of our own internal complexity projected onto the grandest possible stage of space and time. Surprisingly, our conscious ability to perceive and understand these massive structures means the universe is finally waking up to its own staggering grandeur. For billions of years, the superclusters drifted in a silent and unobserved dark, but through our eyes, the cosmos has found a way to bear witness to its own beauty. We are the sensory organs of the infinite, the specific points where the universe has gained the capacity to marvel at the scale of its own creation. This awakening is the ultimate goal of the long process of assembly and evolution that we have traced throughout our journey. The universe is no longer just a collection of matter and energy. It is a conscious and aware entity that can finally appreciate the complexity of its own design. Our role in this process is vital and unique, as we are the ones who give the stars their names and the voids their meaning. As you sit in the quiet, feel a sense of pride and purpose in your role as a witness to the infinite. You are the universe's eyes, and your curiosity is the fuel that drives the cosmic awakening into the future. This realization brings a sense of profound significance to our tiny existence, knowing that we are the ones who turn the silent architecture of the heavens into a story of light and wonder. To contemplate a supercluster is to finally find deep peace in our tiny, yet entirely crucial role as observers of the infinite. We are small enough to be humbled by the vastness, yet complex enough to understand the mathematical harmony that holds it all together in the cold dark. In this profound stillness, we realize that our life is not an accident in a hollow void, but a vital and beautiful part of the cosmic story that has been unfolding for 14 billion years. This journey through the luminous web has brought us to a place of ultimate clarity, where the light and the dark are in perfect and eternal equilibrium. We rest now in the heart of this understanding, secure in our place within a universe that is as rhythmic and as structured as a single, perfectly tuned note. The superclusters are our home, and their story is our story, a narrative of assembly and connection that will continue long after we are gone. As the final resonance of our journey fades into the quiet, let it leave behind a sense of peace and a deeper understanding of your own shared celestial heritage. You are a part of the infinite, a conscious spark in a magnificent and eternal assembly of light. Rest now in the security of this knowledge, knowing that you're never truly alone in the vast, beautiful, and perfectly designed architecture of the cosmos. The ultimate revelation of the superclusters is not their staggering size, but the comforting truth that we are an active, aware thread in a beautifully unified cosmic tapestry. This realization is the final bridge between the infinite dark and the warmth of our own shared existence. we find that the vastness of the heavens is not a distance to be feared, but a home to be embraced. This quiet room now holds the only universe you need to contemplate as the light of the stars fades into a soft, internal glow. Your toes are the first to surrender, feeling heavy and completely still against the fabric of the bed. Let every small muscle in your feet dissolve into a state of total, unburdened relaxation. Moving upward, a wave of warmth settles into your ankles and calves, grounding you in the profound peace of the present moment. This structure of your body, much like the great filaments, finds its truest strength in the moments of deepest rest. Surprisingly, the body knows exactly how to let go of the weight of the day, sinking effortlessly into the support beneath you. Your knees and thighs become heavy as lead, releasing any remaining tension into the cool, quiet air of the room. This gentle release travels through your hips and into the base of your spine, where the world finally stops its frantic turning. If we were to look closer, we would see your heartbeat slowing to a rhythmic, steady pulse that mirrors the patience of the ancient night. This soft rise and fall of your stomach marks a transition into a place where thoughts are no longer needed. Feel the weight of your torso sinking deeper into the mattress, becoming one with the soft, welcoming shadows. Your chest expands easily, drawing in the cool, still air before letting it go in a slow, natural stream. Each finger on your hands curls naturally inward, finding a position of perfect and total ease. The palms of your hands are warm and heavy, resting silently against the sheets as the world outside these walls disappears. Your shoulders drop away from your ears, melting into the pillow like soft wax under a gentle flame. The air in this space is a sanctuary where the only sound is the rhythmic, peaceful cycle of your own breath. Muscles in your neck and jaw let go of their final grip, allowing your head to feel wonderfully supported and light. Your eyelids are now so heavy that they feel like velvet curtains closing on a long and beautiful day. Deep within this silence, the boundaries of your mind soften and begin to blend with the shadows of the room. You're drifting now in a sea of pure, unhurried calm that has no beginning and no end. The rhythm of your breath is the only clock ticking away the seconds in a slow and comforting melody. Peace is the only sensation remaining as you sink further into the deep, welcoming embrace of sleep. Your entire being is now a part of the stillness, a quiet and harmonious whole resting in the dark. The journey is complete, and the rest you have found is deep and absolute. And now, 101 wonders are resting with you. Sleep now. Good night.